We will have a world government, whether you like it or not. The only question is whether that government will be achieved by conquest or consent. Paul Warburg. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Secrets of Saturn. My name is Jason Lindgren. I'm your host. Tonight we have Dan Bidondi, a very well-known activist. Good evening, Dan. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Jason. It's a pleasure.
Pleasure's all mine, man. Let's start with your history. What woke you up? What got you into this?
I was just basically a normal person that, all my life, even with anything or anyone, I've always challenged things. Not to be a rebel, but to say, hey, there's more to the story than meets the eye or that's what's being told. So no matter what it was, I would confront a teacher. If I knew I was right, I would let you know, I'd be in your face about it, you know what I mean? Not physically, but, just say, hey, listen, I know this is right, and I would confront people, even, people being bullies on the jobs, like supervisors and all that. I got fired half the time, but the thing is, like, I just never took crap from anybody, and even if I got my butt kicked in a fight, I'm going to stand up to you, you know what I mean? And but the thing is, I always questioned things, and I was well familiar with the Bible, and I fell out of that for a little while. Unfortunately, got involved with the occult a little bit, and thank God got back out of it, and got out of it and went back to the biblical aspect. And about this time, without the churches, lying about the Bible, and I read the Bible on my own, and it's a whole new Bible. You learn 10 times more. Then learn about the New World Order, learn about the Illuminati, and just like all this stuff happening, and I'm starting to question things altogether. And I became a huge activist, and a radio show fell into my lap. And I started Truth Radio Show. I started off as actually a paranormal talk show.
Oh, really?
Yep, me and a bunch of other guys. It was called the Paranormal Hour. It was an hour of paranormal talk, and it was all right, but we had the whole night slot open, and my uncle was the manager of the station. It was WALE 990 AM in Providence, Rhode Island. And I'm like, oh, can I do a show, news political show? He goes, sure. You have the whole night to do whatever you want.
That's great.
So I started Truth Radio. It was me, my cousin, and uncle, and it narrowed down to me eventually. And I kept it going for over 5 years now. And I've been doing tons of news reports on my own. Been to a bunch of different stations. Got kicked off of some for stuff such as the Boston bomb and everything else. And about years ago, I won a reporter contest for Infowars.com. Me and Jakari Jackson were the winners, and I went down to Texas for almost a year. My family's supposed to move down there. They don't want to move down there, so Alex says, hey, go home, be with your family. I'll keep you as a correspondent reporter for New England. I'm like, sure, all right. So instead of flying me back and forth, it saves the company money too.
Right.
So been doing that. Been all over the place, doing my things for Infowars and other media companies, newspapers, and all that stuff.
Fantastic.
And always in the faces of politicians, police. Again, it's not that I want to be a hero. It's just I'm just sick of the, New World Order crap. And, I'm not out there to be glorified, but, it's like I'm the person who says, hey, you know what? I want to inspire people. It's like I'm from the smallest city in the smallest state in the whole country. Central Falls, Rhode Island, it's the smallest city in the smallest state.
Right.
And what I did with Boston with those questions, that reached the entire world and inspired people all over the world to stand up against these global elite.
That's right.
And it shows that, hey, for this guy from the smallest city in the smallest state could, be a big impact in InfoWars and be a big impact at the Boston bomb and exposing false flags. Anybody could do it. And it inspires a lot of people. Not that I want to be famous and everything. It's just I just want to inspire people to say, hey, it's all of our duty to take action.
That's awesome. Well, it's not even so much about being a celebrity or being famous.
Yeah.
It's about spreading information and saying, hey, we're all in this together. It's us against them. These people aren't going to give us any quarter. They're not going to give in, so we can't either.
Oh, yeah. If you take a look at me, I'm not a face that's pretty on TV. I stutter. I mispronounce words constantly. I'm all over the place with that. It shows, hey, I'm just a normal person. I'm not a beautiful looking person that can read perfectly from a teleprompter like the guys on CNN, MSNBC, and all that. And that's why every time I hit the media, you have MSNBC, Chris Hayes, for one, trash me all the time, and Alex Jones as well. They love to trash me and Alex, especially with the Boston thing, and and then the state senator tell me to go F myself, and they love to look for any little thing to trash us. And again, I'm not a perfect speaker, but you know what? I have a heart of a lion, and I'm going to stand up against tyranny.
I'm pretty sure you're very well respected for that. That's actually how I found you is because of your work and why I wanted to talk to you. And as far as the media goes, they always attack the messenger because they can't attack the message because the message is truth. And they can't.
Oh yeah,
they can't touch it.
They sit there and belittle me. Oh, he mispronounced the word. He misspelled the word on something. God forbid. You know what I mean? And because I'm not reading off of teleprompters like they do, and they'll sit there and attack me for it. But the whole time they're doing this, they never could ever say, "Hey, we got proof that they're wrong."
Right, exactly. They attack the people because it's like, well, that's the only vulnerability we can see is this guy doesn't look like a Ken doll. So
yeah, and you know what I mean. It's like they do all that, but the whole time it's like basically stepping up to the plate. You got a ball coming at you. You have no bat to bat it. You have no bat to even step up to the plate with. That's when we hit home runs all day, they can't even step up to the plate. You know what I mean?
I'm totally with you there.
It's just crazy. It really is.
Well, we all know that the media is bought and paid for, and they're just reading from scripts handed down from on high.
Oh, yeah, and after the Boston bombing, I was outside Bullhorn and CNN and Fox.
Yes.
They were all doing their shows on the corner there. I forget the name of the road, but right down the road, and live shows. I was on the other side, in the camera view, and I could see all the teleprompters. The reporters reading perfectly off the teleprompters, and the audience is in front, of course. They can't see what's going on. I'm screaming the bullhorn, hey, this is your mainstream media reading off of teleprompters, dumbed down media, and the cops came over, intimidated us, tried to intimidate us, I should say. They basically pushed us away because, you can't be in front of mainstream media cameras,
Well, they protect them. Like you're not a real journalist. And that's exactly what it is. These people aren't journalists.
Yeah.
They're actors. They're actors playing journalists. Like, hey, I'm going to read from this teleprompter and I'm going to do it perfectly because I'm an actor, not because I'm out doing any kind of real journalism or researching stories or want to give you accurate information. I'm just going to read from this script and do what I'm told, and that's
exactly.
it. And people like you and all the other organizations out there, like people like us, we're trying to get real information out there and the whole look of it and sound of it be damned. We're going to do the best we can with the minimum equipment we have, but we're still going to get the information out there. We're not afraid.
Absolutely.
We're going to do this.
And, a lot of people, they're encouraged by stuff like that. It's a normal guy standing up and, on the worldwide scale at that. Those Boston bombing press conferences, I was confronted and, I was threatened by the FBI, Obama's Secret Service, Homeland Security. All the alphabet agencies, just surrounded me, trying to threaten me. And I'm like, at that time I had adrenaline running through me. And people go, like, oh, you got a lot of kahunas. And it's like, well, at that point, it's not about having kahunas. You're just so angry and infuriated because the horrible thing that these people do. That's right. It's horrible things. And you're
right.
At that point in time, you don't care what happens to you. All you do is want to get in their faces and exploit them. And that's exactly what I did. And you can see the picture of me pointing on my finger in Obama's Secret Service guy's face and the FBI agent's face, and basically I told him right out, hey, I'm not afraid of you, scum. You know what I mean? And
that's great. So, do you want to go into that a little more? Like, do you want to actually say what they actually said to you, or what they actually tried to do? Let people actually hear what goes on in these kinds of situations.
You can't be asking those questions, and if you continue what you're doing, we're going to arrest you and all that stuff. And this has come from everybody. All the agencies at that. And surprisingly, the only ones that didn't give me a hard time at that point was the Boston Police Department. Until I went down the street and both ones here and then. But the Boston Police Department, they were the only ones that really, a couple of them came up, but it was more the federal agents that were trying to use intimidating tactics, threatening me with arrest and everything else. And I shoved it right back in the face. I'm like, yeah, do what you come and try it. And especially the foreign media came over. That's when all the foreign media came over, and there was the last press conference. All the feds scattered like a bunch of roaches that they are. Yeah. Yep.
Oh, really?
Exactly. I got surrounded. I thought something definitely was going to happen, but when the foreign media came over with the cameras and all that, gone.
That's cool. No, well, that was your chance to really get some good info out there, though, because they were going to take that back to their respective organizations, and no one was stopping you at that point.
The average person has curiosity, so they're like, first they contradict themselves. Oh, we need your help with your pictures and video to, find these criminals or get evidence against these people. But when I brought to the table, say, hey, we got the real evidence on Infowars.com, they said, don't go to Infowars.com. And sure enough, people, millions of people from all over the world. Alex said it was over 100,000 hits a minute on Infowars.com. It was like a record for Infowars.com. And
during the Boston bombing?
Yep. When I said we got the photos on Infowars.com, people from all over the world. Alex had he called me. I was talking to him that night, and he said he had to call the IT guys in because the servers were almost overloaded.
Wow.
He said it estimated well over 100,000 hits a minute, and they gained actually
that's
I think almost 2-3 million more regular listeners after that. Because people are like, oh wow, this is Infowars, let me check them out. And people that even didn't agree with me, they wanted to go on just to see what I had. And I'm sure enough, it kind of convinced a lot of people that were against me at first. Hey, wait a minute, this guy's onto something, you know. So it was a big victory. And also, Google search term hit an all-time record high when I mentioned false flag at the first press conference. Yep, an all-time record high on Google of a search term. People from all over the world got on Google, false flag, you know, to see what a false flag was.
Yeah, fantastic job on that, by the way. That was my first real example of what you do, and I was like, that guy's awesome.
Yeah, they call me the Kraken because I'm...
I loved that. I heard that term. I was like, that's perfect. That awesome, fantastic, man. Going back in your history, what was like the beginning of your activism? Who was like the first people you started confronting, or what was like the thing that you really did first to really start making a difference again in getting information out there?
The very first activism I did was actually when the Tea Party was endorsing Sarah Palin and John McCain. I went to the Rhode Island State House with my bullhorn and a bunch of big pictures with Sarah Palin, John McCain, Fangs, you know, the vampires. Confronting these guys, say, hey, these guys are just GOP establishment who hijacked the Tea Party, and little behold, today, the Tea Party is nothing more but the GOP hijack organization now. And, you know, at first it started off as a good thing. You know, the Ron Paul movement actually resurrected it, and but GOP hijacked it, and we were just exploiting that, you know, and then say, hey, you're being hijacked. And it was started by libertarian independents, not Republicans, you know, and, it went off from there. We did all kinds of rallies. Every year we do a 9/11 Truth Rally. I took part of other people's rallies too, against the United Nations flags being hung in different places in Rhode Island, and just tons of, over the years, you know, tons of different rallies and all that stuff.
As far as politicians you've confronted, who's some of your better stories you'd like to tell?
A lot of state, federal senators, U.S. senators, I should say, Sheldon Whitehouse, Jack Reed, just a bunch of different politicians, governors, mayors, even Obama at one point, but I wasn't head up. I mean, I confronted Bill Clinton at an event there when he was endorsing this guy Caprio for governor in 2010 in Rhode Island.
Really? Did you actually get to talk to Clinton?
No, I was about 3 rows away from him, and it was me and my friend from We Are Change, Nathan Florence. We split up, so he was at the other end of the auditorium. He caused a big ruckus, basically, to say, you know, call out Bill Clinton. So when all the security, you know, went over to get him, and as they're pushing him out, I jumped up, and I got to say a lot to Bill Clinton before they got to me, you know, before they ripped me out of there. And, you know, it was a good day. Then at the same day, we confronted a crooked judge here in Rhode Island, confronted at the time Attorney General, who was a crooked guy. I mean, just like we hit a lot of people that one day. That all came to kiss ass to Bill Clinton, you know.
Of course. So did Bill actually hear you amongst the whole ruckus?
He heard my friend Nathan first, and he goes, "Oh, anyway, moving on." And I jumped up and started yelling at him, yelled things about Waco and everything else, and you know, just like 9/11 too. And you know, by the time they got to me, and I basically called him a murderer. You know, it's exactly, you know, he's a murderer and all that. And yeah, he just shut up the whole time until they escorted me out.
That's interesting because Bill Clinton seems to be the one who's really good at like keeping his composure and just keeping that facade of I'm in control. Bill seems to be really good at that.
Yeah.
All the little confrontations I've seen videos of, he always seems to just be able to keep that straight face and almost make it look like I'm going to turn this on you. You're the fool for bringing this up in the first place because I'm the president, kind of thing, you know. Yeah. After
Nathan got thrown out, he goes, "Well, let's get back to the facts," and that's when I stopped. "Well, let's get back to the facts that you're a murderer, Bill Clinton." And I got on my YouTube, Dan Bidondi confronts Bill Clinton. There's 2 different videos of that, but it's great. We confronted a bunch of politicians, and you know, over the years, cops too. When I seen a cop, 3 cops beat up this guy in Cumberland. I mean, I'm Pawtucket, Rhode Island. But I ran to go get my video camera. I didn't catch the beating, but I confronted the police with that. And they called of course, they turned it all around and let the guy go after because they knew I had on video, and I told them I had shadow cameras. so nothing would happen to me. And basically, I just gave the cops a piece of my mind, and there's just many other cops too. I confronted people at the Capitol building, the Capitol Police and such, and it's just like all these people over the years that, I mean, the thing is, you don't want to go confront people, but, you have to. And Senate hearing meetings where I stood up and testified against gun control, and that senator who told me to go after myself, and confronted him, confronted a contradicting pastor, reverend, whatever he is. The guy says he's a man of God, but yet he supports abortion. Then he had the nerve to tell me, we should take guns off the street because it's murder. But yeah, so that's murder, but yet you endorse abortion. It's not contradicting. And I confronted him, and it's just like I can go on all day at the people I confronted, but I mean, it's been a long ride, but we know, still more work to go.
Awesome, man. Let's talk about, you told me off air that you had originally started as a paranormal show, and then it moved into you doing Truth Radio. On that show, was it like an Art Bell approach where you kind of discussed everything, and that kind of helped you to learn more about who the elite and what this New World Order is all about? Because that's kind of how it worked for me. I was interested in a variety of subjects, symbolism, ancient history, how everything interrelates, just all of that. And I'd like to think I have a fairly good idea of how things really work now. I mean, but I learn more every day. And did you have a similar experience?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And basically what I would do is I would have first hour, sometimes we did 4-hour shows. And, first hour would cover the news, sometimes the second hour. Third hour would have a guest and, talk about or have a specific subject. In the third or fourth hour, have the guest on that correlates with the subject you're talking about, like an expert in the area. And it just went all over the place. And what we did was, like, yes, we were all over the place, but we showed how it all intertwines with each other. It's like a puzzle. I explain to people all the time. You get a 10,000-piece puzzle.
Right.
You say there's no picture on the box, so you don't even know where to go. There's no picture on that box of that puzzle. 10,000 pieces. And you dump that on the table, and you're like, where the hell do I even start? What the hell is this piece have to do with that one? So you put the frame together, common sense. Then you start putting pictures together. Then all of a sudden, everything starts fitting in place. And it's same thing here, all this stuff. And you start realizing, without this won't exist. And, it's all complicated, and the globalists make it that way purposely so people don't even bother. But if you understand that puzzle system, you learn to put these pieces together. And what it's tied to, you would understand the overall picture.
How far back in history have you gone? Because I've found that the farther you go back, there are connections that go back.
Yep.
They follow this religion. They're Luciferians. Mystery Babylon is something I've definitely looked into. I find that very fascinating that these old world families, old money that goes back generation upon generation, and it's just been carried forward. And they're real... how would you say, like their grip of power came into be in the 1800s with Nathan Rothschild during the Napoleonic era. They really got control of the banks and all that.
Oh, yeah, I go way back in history, and because to me, the past is the key to the future.
Yes, I agree totally.
Like Edmund Burke says, those who don't know the past are doomed to repeat it. Those who don't know history are doomed to repeat it. I'm sorry.
It's a great statement.
So the key to the future is the past, because you don't want to repeat what the past did, and that's why with the elite, you're trying to do that all the time. They're trying to change it, manipulate histories and history books in the schools to make the kids believe other than what really happened. And so you default the past, so they accept this future that basically repeating history.
Just like the example is shown in 1984, where they were constantly rewriting history. Well,
Yep.
If you're in control, then the next generation doesn't know that you've just rewritten it 100 times.
Absolutely. Why they control the schools. I mean, you got the 501c3 churches out there, government-controlled churches. You got the government-controlled schools. Just every branch of society that they're brainwashing, indoctrinating our children to believe in this one way. And the elite, they know, like, they couldn't really take God out of the country. They tried to back when the Illuminati infiltrated the American Freemason lodges, and they knew it's like an indestructible computer. You could shoot it and everything else. It's not going to be destroyed. So they knew, all right, we have to do something called Frankenism. Frankenism is a German word for infiltration. The Illuminati got inside of politics, got inside of religion, and split them two up. Got into politics and split created the Republican Democratic Party, purposely divide America. Got into religion. And Frankenism, was you take a sworn oath, you do anything you have to do to prove to the people that you are what you say you are. but in the ultimate, you're probably Illuminati, and your goal is to divide. So they got into the churches. I mean, you had all these people like Joseph Smith, Charles Taze Russells, even Gerald Gardner, but what that was in Wicca or whatever. But these people got into the religions, even Darby and all these people that came along that said, hey, well, I'm a good man of God. They donated, tons of money, built churches, doing all these good things, get people to follow them, branched off their own religion, which destroyed the fabric of the Bible. Now they're going by their own words, not what the Bible says. So they create all these religions out there to destroy. Now they not only divide politics and religion, but they divide religion as well and also politics. And now people don't know what to believe and which way to turn because everything's so corrupted. And they did that purposely. And their goal is to weave all the stuff back together again as one. Religion and politics is one, but this time as a one world order, the New World Order. And world religion, you're told what to worship. You know the whole deal with that,
right?
And the whole New World Order system, and that's exactly what they would do. Is they unwind what was good in this country, then wind it back up into this black hole pit of hell of the New World Order.
Now, how far back do you really think this goes? That they were planning what we have today. Now, obviously, they couldn't foresee the technological advances we've got, but the ideas seem to have been laid down a very long time ago.
Oh, yeah, at least 6,000 years ago, if not more, with Babylon and all that. They try to bring in the one world system then, and, all the time, every time the man tried to do that, just led to, and people say, man knows better, but history proves that every time man thought he knew better than God, it led to death and destruction. The humans just destroy themselves, and, cities crumble, empires crumble. You got a good empire, look with Israel. Israel started off great. It's a great people, a powerful empire. Then God warned them, hey, because people wanted a king. God says no, because kings become corrupt.
Right.
You need a king. The prophets were telling the Israelites, but they wanted a king. God gave it to them, and look what happened. Israel became corrupted over and over again. Even King David became corrupt and killed his friend for this woman, whatever. And it's just like, it shows corruption, like power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. So, there you have it, like in all through history, not just with the Jews, but everywhere. Empires always fall. Nothing nothing lasts forever because when man controls it and thinks he knows his own way, then that's where it's just death and destruction.
So, in your opinion, you would say there's a huge spiritual element to all this as well as physical banking element?
Yeah, because because everybody used to tell me, if you want to know the truth or agenda behind everything, follow the money. Yeah, you follow the money, but it goes further than that. There's a political agenda behind that.
Right.
And it goes beyond the money because the elite, they have all the money in the world. They don't need your money. They just use it to control you. The money's worthless. Yeah, everybody knows about the Federal Reserve fraud. So it goes beyond following the money route. It goes even beyond the political route. It goes to a spiritual agenda. A lot of people, I don't bash anybody. Whatever they want to believe, God bless them. But the thing is, the elite of this world, they believe in Lucifer as God. These people are Illuminati scum. They belong to this one bloodline that dates back all the way to the Garden of Eden. This one continuous bloodline that dated back till Cain and, the seed of the serpent. And they have to keep this bloodline to bring forth their king, their ruler. And this is what the elite believe. That's what the Illuminati, they create all these monuments all over the country, all over the world, I'm sorry. All the capitals are built in accordance with Pleiades and Orion. The star, they call it the Dog Star or the Blazing Star Sirius. It's all astrologically built with the monuments and the obelisks and all that to resurrect their king, which is the Antichrist.
Now, what do you actually think what they really think? Now, you hear a lot of crazy stuff out there, and who knows what's actually going on, but you hear things about Pleiadians, you hear things about reptilians, like all sorts of things, and it gets very convoluted, and I think a lot of people don't know what to believe anymore because you just hear so much.
Yeah, because you got people out there that start making these videos and all that, and it just ruins it for people like us who actually study it, because somebody come up with a cockamamie idea with no proof and put a YouTube video out, and it just distorts it for everybody. For example, when Obama first became president, there was some people that put a video out to say Obama wasn't the first black president, it was John Hanson. Now, a lot of Americans are completely unaware. We had, I think it was about 7 or 9 presidents before George Washington. They were appointed by Congress.
Right.
For 1 or 2 years each. There was a guy named John Hanson. He was the first president of the United States. but under the Articles of Confederation. But there was two John Hansons. They were confusing the two. We got pictures to prove it. The thing is, he served in, I think it was 1791 or whatever it was, and the photograph wasn't invented to 1843, I believe, in the 1840s. But the thing is, you can't have a picture of John Hanson. There was a politician named John Hanson. He lived in the mid-1800s. He was the first black politician from Maryland. And he's on a $2 bill as well in the back. But the thing is, he wasn't the president of the United States. It was a white guy. They got a portrait of him in the White House. He was a white Swedish guy, chunky face. What Swedish you get, that's white as you get. So, I mean, it shows you how the disinformation, people put these videos out, and it actually looks real. I bought it for a minute, and then I'm like, wait a minute, let me do the research. And plus, at that time, there was a lot of racism going on. There's no way in hell a black guy could be president of the United States at the time, and
right.
And I looked into the research, and sure enough, and they said, we got the picture. I'm like, how the hell you got a picture 50 years before the picture existed? The photographs were invented. So it's just that story right there, it's like, you gotta dot your I's and cross your T's. You know what I mean? And to really get the truth out, because there's so much disinformation going around, and everybody thinks anybody in Hollywood dies. Oh, the Illuminati killed them or whatever. That's not the case. It's
right.
Somebody just coming up with cockamamie ideas, like Paul Walker that died. They said the Illuminati killed him. No, Illuminati. He was just driving like a retard and crashing the tree. People make stuff up, and it just demoralizes us. Like, I was a pro wrestler for 15 years, and when you have the backyard wrestling, which is a bunch of kids that are not trained, they just root for the professional guys, so people don't know. Wait a minute, they see a show and they go, they don't know, they can't tell the difference between professional and the backyard, so it just ruins it for everybody. Same thing with this here. What we do, we study day and night, but you got some people out there that automatically assume like that Clive and Bundy was part of the Illuminati because the Bundy name was the Illuminati. I'm not saying that anybody in the country's name with Bundy is Illuminati, but Clive and Bundy is not gonna, he's not the Illuminati. You know what I mean? Somebody in the Illuminati in the family, they're not gonna get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to shovel horse crap. You know what I mean?
Right. That term Illuminati, that gets used pretty much for everything.
Yeah.
But to be fair, that the symbolism is kind of blatant. Things such as like Katy Perry videos and things like that, they use beyond blatant symbolism. I mean, they're using the exact symbolism. Sometimes they're even performing rituals. There's one where Pink a few years ago did the Freemason ceremony.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, these things are going on. My question is, why are they doing that? What's the point?
Well, now they're just blatantly, like you said, putting it out. I mean, look at the Super Bowl halftime shows for the last 3 years. The last two Olympics, the opening and closing ceremony, just blatantly rubbing your face. You got millions of people all over the world watching, people at the stadium sitting there clapping. Oh, what a great show! Not knowing they're telling you right in your face, hey, we're gonna kill you. We're going to enslave you. You're clapping for the Dark Lord. You know what I mean? The one in China, the Olympics there?
Yes.
The big image of the Dark Lord coming out and people just sitting there clapping, not knowing what the hell's going on. They are open with the stuff now because they don't care. They openly made it. I mean, you see the Cartoon Network. It's like a microsecond in between cartoons sometimes. Mm-hmm. You see a pyramid says Illuminati on it. Bang, right there. And you got cartoons. I mean, Disney Channel blatantly showing it to kids right there. Bam. Here's a picture of all CNI with a bunch of gargoyles doing the Hail Satan, symbols. I mean, Illuminati symbolism in the video games too, and they just like openly putting it out there. I mean, you got rappers like Jay-Z and all that just flaunting it, even though we know they're low-level Illuminati, they're just puppets, so to speak. But these people will just flaunt it like it's a cool thing.
Well, those guys I would think are made to manipulate other people's in their kind of communities, like Jay-Z and Kanye West, for example, are there to manipulate the black community. And Katy Perry and other people like that, they're to get like the young white kids. It seems like they're just targeting everything just to make sure that their symbolism is being used because they believe in sympathetic magic, I believe it's called.
Oh, yeah, sympathetic magic, ritual magic.
Put the intention out there of what they want.
And openly state what they're going to do to you, and people clap for it. And it's like, and everybody watch pro wrestling. I mean, over the years you can see it. And pro wrestling represents society, because 9 out of 10 kids watch pro wrestling. I mean, especially back then. And all the time when the WrestleManias came around, it was the good guy that tramped 99% of the time.
Right.
It was like full of colors and glamour, and all of a sudden it started getting dark. Everybody's wearing black. people are starting to cheer for the bad guys now. Bad guys are winning all the time, getting away over on everybody. You know, it's just like you can see society just starting to crumble into this black abyss. You know what I mean? Kids actually cheering, wearing NWO T-shirts, not knowing what the real meaning for the New World Order is.
Right.
And it was I think it was Eric, I forgot his name, from WCW there, that pushed. It was Ted Turner when he bought the National Wrestling Alliance. He bought the rings and the wrestlers and everything, turned it to called World Championship Wrestling, and he injected. He's the one who created what Eric Bischoff, his name is. They created a faction called the New World Order. Now, to the people, the wrestlers, it was just a faction. You know what I mean? But they took over the whole wrestling world, blah blah blah. But the thing is, Ted Turner is a huge globalist. He knows what the New World Order is. He's part of the New World Order.
Right.
You know, he falls for it all the time, and they injected this into the kids' heads. And then eventually affected into the WWE and everything else, and it's all over society. And like the New World Order is this cool thing, you know what I mean? And it's just like all aspects everywhere. I mean, the cartoons or the entertainment and everything. They just sit there and blatantly say, "Hey, we're going to enslave you," and it's a cool thing to do it.
And we're going to do it, and you're not even going to realize we're doing it. But we're going to tell you that we're doing it.
Yep.
Now, what do you think the purpose of the one I show a lot of people when I'm trying to give an example of symbolism? One of the more recent Katy Perry videos was called Dark Horse, and she did a live performance where a dark horse came out on stage, and it was the identical dark horse, and I mean identical, to the one that is a statue at the Denver airport of the dark horse, the apocalypse, or death. I mean, how much more blatant can you get than that, you know?
And her in a big old CNI, then just devouring people and everything else. And the video is just like so blatant, the Egyptianology and everything else. And and they make it so complex too. So when people really want to, it's like, well, I want to learn what that's about. But it's so complex that a normal person's just going to say, you know what? Because we live in an ADD society, so they're not even going to bother to investigate. Oh, it's just a conspiracy, and they put their heads in the sand by saying that.
Now, do you think that's because there's just too much out there and it's become so complicated, like overly complicated? Just throw everything out there and it's just a big old mess.
That plus, them flooding us with all this, people with porn, people with the football, the coolest thing, go out to the bar with your buddies. Now, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with going out to see a band. Nothing wrong with going to a football game, going to the bar to have a couple of drinks with some buddies. Nothing wrong with any of that. You know what I mean?
No, that's just living.
Yeah, live and have fun. But the thing is, people overzealous that they that's their life. I mean, look at the people when the Patriots lost the undefeated season. It was like the wife for 10 years cheated on them with another guy. I mean, it was just so ridiculous. The attitudes of people after that.
Well, people's priorities have been skewed. They've been pushed into this, like, this is your life, this is all you need, that channel all your energies into this, don't worry about anything else other than that. Football is a great example of that. Like, football is your life. That's where all your male aggression is being channeled into. Exactly.
And, instead of taking time, it's like we need to take a little time a day. Yeah, enjoy your life, absolutely. I do with my family. We go have fun, go to the beach, whatever, but you know what? It's like, when we got a babysitter for the kid, we'll go out and, get a couple of drinks. And my girl likes to sing karaoke and all that. But the other thing is, like, you got to take time out of your life to say, hey, all right, let me look through the papers. That don't sound right. Let me investigate stuff, Let me look up historical stuff, I want to know what my relatives were like. I want to know what the country was like when I lived, my relatives were here. And, I want to read the Bible for myself other than the pastor telling me lies, you know what I mean? And just stuff like that, and, like, people don't want to do that because they rather take all that time and sit there, like one of the jobs they work at, the guys sit there for an hour talking about football and baseball.
That's right.
Like, I'm like, really? It's like we got wars going on, we got homeless happening, the whole thing with ISIS in the Middle East and all that, but you're sitting here talking about... you're pissed off because the Patriots didn't draft the number one pick or whatever, So,
like that's even relevant,
Yeah. And then, so what, your team wins the Super Bowl? The next year, it's all forgotten about.
Well, even if they did, what did that matter in your life? What did that change? Like,
yeah.
How did that help feed the homeless? That kind of thing. It's like, it's irrelevant.
Yeah, it is.
Like, go see the movie, enjoy it, you got your couple bucks worth, and then, back to real life. My big problem is people just obsess over one television show after another, or a movie series, or sports, whatever happens to be. I personally call it a modern-day bread and circuses. And they've just bombarded Western society with so much stuff that they've kind of hit on every different kind of person. You know, not everybody's into sports, but then you got your Star Trek people, or you got, you know, they're into this, or they're into that, and, you know, The Walking Dead, whatever happens to be, you know?
It's funny, The Walking Dead. I mean, I was doing Man on the Street for InfoWars during Black Friday.
Right.
And it was just like, I was telling people, hey, anybody want to watch a live version of The Walking Dead? And everybody's like, yeah. It's like, all right, just go to your local stores there, you know, like a Walmart or Price Rate, whatever. I mean, Best Buy or whatever, you know, you just go there and you can watch it for yourself, you know. You can see The Walking Dead right there.
Well, it almost seems like we're being bombarded with the whole zombie thing right now. And it almost makes me think that the zombies aren't dead bodies clawing themselves around. It's the general populace. They're the zombies. It's almost like they're the establishment is ridiculing the general populace. It's like, you're just a bunch of zombies, mindless zombies, just doing what we're telling you. You're just going on autopilot.
It's like all these zombie movies, or it's a bunch of dead bodies. No, but dead people, they're saying it's you.
Right.
You're zombies walking around, not that you're dead, but you're dead from reality of knowledge. And look at this, I think it's ASL, or whatever it's called, the Lou Gehrig's disease.
Right.
One baseball player in Boston, I guess he's a former Red Sox player, whatever, he decided one day, I'm going to do this for ALS. And is that ALS? I
think so, yeah.
I'm going to dunk ice water all over my head. So now the whole country, you've seen videos over Facebook, YouTube. Look, I'm doing this for ALS. Dunking ice cold. They have whole fire departments and police departments doing it. People at ball games doing it. I'm like, what? You know, where's this? There's nothing wrong with raising money for a charity, but half the time these charities, the money doesn't go to these charities.
Right, I've heard that.
To the people, a small percentage might, but all they do is like the American Cancer Society. They don't help people, cancer victims. They say, hey, we're going to give you chemotherapy and radiation, and we're going to line the pockets of big pharma. They don't.
Oh God, that's a how many $1 trillion, or excuse me, how many $1 billion a year?
Yeah, and people say, they're a non-profit, but they're a non-governmental. They call them NGOs,
right?
But they're actually governmental organizations, and they claim they have nothing to do with the government. They're non-profit, which is hogwash. They are government non-profit organizations that suck the people dry of money, make them feel bad, and not only they're paying to something that's not going to help anybody, but they're also these patients are living, giving big pharma a living, instead of saying, hey, there's natural ways to cure cancer. There's many ways to cure cancer, but the mainstream media will never tell you that. But hey, let's go get chemotherapy and radiation and stick you on a bunch of psychotropic drugs and everything else, so for the rest of your life you can live off of us. You know what I mean? And it's mind control. And then people don't.
That's exactly what it is.
For any less and everything else, like where's the same motivation every time a good cop he gets shot in the line of duty, or about a person that gets gunned down unarmed by police? You know what I mean? What about a military veteran that comes home and they stick him on the street and he puts him on a terrorist watch list? He can't hold a job and he's living under a tunnel. You know what I mean? Under a highway pass. Where's the same motivation for these things? You know what I mean? It's just like people have no priorities.
Totally agree. The whole thing with the military, it seems to me that they're trying to break these young kids. They're sending them over there for multiple tours of duty, which was pretty much unheard of in the World War II era and Vietnam and everything. And then they're coming over here and being police officers, but in reality, those guys are snapped. And that's why we're having all this police violence, and people are finally starting to get wise to that. You're seeing things like cop block and stuff like that pop up. I think people are finally starting to get that. It's like, hey, man, they're turning them into stormtroopers for the streets, And
you can see it, too. I mean, like, there's a lot of police violence going on. I just made a video a little while ago about that. I'm going to release it hopefully tomorrow, or, definitely by the end of tomorrow anyway. But, you can see it. People are getting more aggressive. People film the cops. They're yelling at the cops now. They tell them to go F themselves. They're, even say, die cops die. You know what I mean? Like, people are getting pissed. It's just going to come to one point, that one, the one straw that's going to break the back. When somebody's, and just say a kid, like just say, God forbid, a 12-year-old kid and 2 cops are pounding on him, Something like that's going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back, and it's going to cause the people to start taking action. And that's why I warn good cops all the time. If you know people like that in your department, I don't care if they're higher ranking officers or even your captain or chief, you do something to put them, stop them, because your lives are going to be on the line. When the public has had enough, they're going to start attacking the police departments.
Right. Yeah, it's edging towards that.
Oh yeah, and it's going to be right up Homeland Security's alley, because they'll give them justification to use foreign military troops they've been training here with FEMA and all that to come over, pull the plug from martial law.
Yeah, it's scary when you know all the pieces like we do,
Yeah.
and it's like, well, if this happens, then this can happen, and then they'll get this, and it's they've got this all pre-planned out. They may not have the exact timetable because it depends upon, what event may occur when, but all in all, they've got an idea of where it is they're going to go with all this.
Absolutely. Then you get slimy scum like Patrick Lynch. He was a spokesman for the Patrolmen's Benevolent Association. He gave that speech the other day about the Eric Garner incident. The guy got choked out by the New York Police Department.
Right. Mm-hmm.
He's basically saying, if you resist arrest, you prepare to die. Exactly what he's saying. He's trying to justify, he wasn't choked, even though CNN did confirm that the medical examiner did confirm he died from being choked. People say, he let him go, when they choked him to the ground. But when the other cop put his knee right in his throat, like his face is in the ground, and the other cop put his knee, when the chokehold was released, they put his knee right in his throat. And the police commissioner of the New York Police Department stated in the press conference that chokeholds are prohibited to be used by the New York Police Department because they're dangerous. And you had Patrick Lynch saying, he wasn't choked. That wasn't a chokehold. When the whole free world seen in the video, that was a blatant chokehold. That was like a tap-out choke you see in UFC.
There's a term I came up with a couple of years ago, and I call it the veneer of society. And basically what I mean by that is there's this real thin coating on top that a good amount of people are still buying, they're drinking the Kool-Aid still. But it's thin. You scratch it a little bit, and all of a sudden you see the insane chaos that's really going on. Things like the event we just described. And I've always been wondering, what is going to be that line? There's going to be one incident that's going to be the thing. They're going to scratch right through that, and they're not going to be able to gloss over it anymore.
Yeah, you see, it's going to come soon, and it's either going to be a kid or somebody's mother. That the whole,
it's going to be some kind of thing that's going to make it look like it's going to touch the hearts of people, and it's not going to be a sad thing. It's going to be an anger thing.
Look at the house they raided. SWAT team. I forgot what town it was. They raided the wrong house. The house they were supposed to raid was 2 blocks away, and they smashed the 2 little kids in the face with the butts of their guns. And one cop said, the kid ran into my gun. So you have your gun out, the kid's going to run into it and cause that much damage. It's just like on and on. And you got the CHP, California Highway Patrol, beats a woman on the highway, and cops put chokeholds and tase an unresponsive deaf man. It's just like, the police state is insane, man. And it's like, it's not going to stop it. The people will actually start taking action. And the best weapon against the police like that is a video camera, especially because it has the ability to stream live and help make these people held accountable. And I always say right on, I know people call me extreme all they want. Every state needs the citizens. I'm not talking about the National Guard or anybody else. The citizens need to form a well-regulated militia under the Second Amendment. They need to do this to make these people hold accountable, put these cops in their own handcuffs if the authorities don't do nothing about it. Now, I'm not saying go shoot up anything. I'm not calling for violence. But under the Constitution, we have a right to defend ourselves and form a well-regulated militia. Because if the Constitution, Declaration of Independence says if our state or government's not doing their job, it's up to the people to do their job for them and appoint new gods for our future. And the people, I hate to say it, but it's the time now we have to do that. We have to form a well-regulated militia, and people who go around torching cars and rioting, that's just stupid. Why go burn up your neighborhood because a cop?
Right.
Yeah, you're just giving them justification to come in and spray everybody. But half the time, these riots are caused by provocateurs, like the World Trade Organization meeting in 2010. It was, I think it was San Diego. San Diego police were caught. They were caught instigating a riot, and they had black uniforms on with masks on. They all had the same boots. They were police department.
The police department, right? Yeah, I remember that.
they caused a riot. Then they went in afterwards. When people were causing a riot, the cops did nothing. When these guys left, that's when the cops came in and started, attacking innocent people, store owners, cleaning up the glass from the shop, attacking them, attacking the media and the press. I mean, I'm sure this riot that took place in Missouri, after that kid that, was shot down, 17-year-old going to his grandmother's house, unarmed, cops, 2 o'clock in the afternoon just gunned them down. And it caused a big riot. People were saying kill the police and everything else, and a riot took place. And I'm sure it was most likely a provocateur event, just so the police have justification to go around spraying everybody.
Well, it seems like they're always doing something or another to justify the next. I mean, it's baby steps, but they're still taking steps forward to really crack down, have an actual police state.
Yeah.
And you can tell, too, because when sometimes these cops are doing really horrible things, like we've been talking about, they let them get away with it. Like there's no repercussions.
Absolutely, and we're seeing that all over the place. And it's just like people need to wake up. Start taking action. And I'm not saying shooting and nothing like that, but you have video cameras and being bold and standing up against these people. Because if the police see about 50 people in your neighborhood stand up and say, "Hey, no, we're not moving. You wrongfully did what you did, and we're going to make you held accountable." And 50 people got video cameras. Hey, it's not too much the police are going to do about that.
Well, I think this is the best solution is not to be trying to tackle the pyramid from the top down, but everyone has to do it from their home level. You need to be friends with your police department and everyone that's in offices and all that. You need to start at the absolute ground level, and if you got bad people there, you need to get them out. You need to put the right people into these offices so that you're moving in the right direction. So this way, if bad orders come down from on high, they're not going to follow them. But if you let these people who are already corrupted or bought off or whatever, well, they're just going to go right along with the program. So I think true activism needs to start at the base level.
It does, and there's an old saying, you destroy the foundation, the rest will come tumbling down.
Right, because everybody wants to attack whomever the president is at the time or the high-end senators. It's like, that doesn't matter. You're not going to touch them.
No.
Because you can barely get close to them. Just like you said, you had to fight to get close just to Bill Clinton, who hadn't even been president in years, and it was hard.
Yeah.
But what about your mayor? What about your police chief? What about those people? What about these guys who are out walking the street? Well, if they've got severe PTSD and they're doing violent things on a regular basis, they should not be law enforcement officials. I'm sorry, you shouldn't be.
Absolutely. And, the politicians, they literally think they're God. Yeah, they pass bills at 11, 12 at night on a Sunday when everybody's just going to bed from a football game to get up, go to bed for work in the morning, and they push these bills through overnight. Oh, nobody was here to challenge it. The town hall meetings, nobody came to challenge it. And of course not, because you do it off a business night, when everybody's sleeping, and that's how you wrongfully push these bills through.
Right, and then they're getting away with it because no one is challenging anything even afterwards. They're just, that's what happened.
Yeah. And people say all the time, I talk to people about stuff. The biggest is what do you got to do? What do you mean, what do we got to do? Edmund Burke says the only thing evil needs to succeed is for good men to do nothing.
Right. And that's why we have to start on the local level. It's like, no, you know what? Me by myself is not going to get the president replaced. But what about the town I live in? Yep.
Get your town informed, get them on the right road. Another town's going to join suit, and all of a sudden your state does,
exactly.
And it's going to trickle from there. Look how many states will win against Obamacare.
Slowly but surely figuring out what kind of scam that really is.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter if you're a Republican or Democrat. And people, I'm a Democrat, so I have to support.
That's a ridiculous
Obamacare.
statement.
No, you don't.
You know?
Yeah, it is. Because I know people.
I didn't know someone told you how to think. Is that what you're telling me? You don't think for yourself, you just do what you're told?
Exactly. And I know people personally do that. Well, I'm a Republican or I'm a Democrat. I have to. No, you don't have to. Just because you're a Republican Democrat, you still have the liberty of making your own choices. I'm independent, but if I like a Democrat, I'll vote for him. If I like a Republican, I'm going to vote for him. You know what I mean? It's just that's the way it is. You know what I mean? And that's the way everybody should be. You shouldn't have to go by what your president says or your elected leader of your party. You should go by what you think and most of all what the Constitution has to say about it.
There you go. What a crazy idea. Let's follow the Constitution instead of politicians.
Yeah. But, I'm a diehard liberal, I'm a diehard conservative, and these people don't really understand. Today's meaning of liberal and conservative is not what liberal and conservatives are. A real liberal is Thomas Jefferson. A real conservative was George Washington. Those people are real liberals and conservatives. Today's version is a joke. It basically means Nazism. That's all it means.
Now, why do you think people are blindly following like that? And in addition to that, do you think people are too conditioned to do nothing? That they really are? I mean, you always hear the term sheeple because people are just following along with the herd. Do you think? I know, right? And do you think that what we're saying about activism on local level? Do you think that the elite have done such a good job of dumbing everything down between all the poisons they throw at everyone and the stupidity of the television brainwashing? I mean, do you really think that there's hope for this?
I think there is hope. Matt George, proved that. I mean, years ago he announced, when social media started coming about, the internet and all that for the people, he said that it's going to be the new media. And they all laughed at him. They ridiculed him. They ran him to the ground. He went off and started the Drudge Report. And lo and behold, if you look at the Alexa rating, it's the number one in the entire world, the number one news source on the internet.
Oh, yeah, Matt Drudge is the news internet source. He did it.
He proved them all wrong. I mean, look what happens now. Now, if just say in your neighborhood, right? I don't know, you guys were all at the bus terminal or some public event or in the park or something. All the town was there doing something. Everybody's got the cameras now. If some guy came over and started opening fire, and a bunch of events took place, all you guys got that on film. Now, if the media comes over, mainstream media, this happened, blah blah blah, which wasn't even the truth. There's going to be 50 people who are going to post the YouTube videos and say, no, this is what really happened. Of course, then people are going to look at the both. Oh, my God, they're right, Then it just, trickles down from there. And you can see and the reason why I said we're having a victory for, I think we're going to turn things around because the mainstream media on record, on all the ratings and all that, it's proven that they're dying. That's why they call it the dinosaur media.
Right.
Dying. They're dying, and the ratings show it. If it wasn't for the banker bailouts, the corporate sponsors, they would be dead in the water. Alternative media is phenomenally rising. I mean, you got Infowars.com. I mean, Drudge Report and all that. The top two alternative media sources in the world. I mean, Infowars alone, we got over 6 times the amount of MSNBC, CNN, and Fox combined on a worldwide scale. You know what I mean? And that's just Infowars. You know what I mean? And, and it's just getting bigger every day. And, it's showing that, hey, like on Rhode Island here, that senator told me to go after myself. His camera guy, he worked for this idiot, Steve Alquist. He writes a blog in some Rhode Island newspaper. But they both told him, oh, it's Infowars. Don't worry about it. They're a joke. They're nothing. They're a website. So he told, we're all cocky, smiling, go after myself. And all of a sudden, 12 hours later, his face is all over every national network, TV, newspaper, even all in some countries too. He was all over the place and getting ridiculed by people from all over the country for his anti-constitutional comment.
Well, that's part of the lie, though, Dan, is that they try to portray that sites like Infowars and Drudge don't matter. That's the mainstream media lie. It's like, look, we've got the $1 million sets and all the all the glitz and glamour. We're the real thing. Those are jokes, but the reality is it's the other way around.
Oh yeah, and when I go to the State House now, I'm there frequently. Now half the media guys don't even dare even look at me right. I mean, because they know. And the politicians, a lot of them shake my hand now, and the other ones that don't like me, they just don't bother me at all. And because they know, hey, if we want to say a joke now, we just put one of your senators all over the nation's papers and TV stations. So, they get more respect. The last hearing I went to, I was testifying. They raised about 7 draconian bills, anti-gun bills, and last year they tried to push one. I was a big part of that to stop that. Chris Hayes on CNN even pointed that out. They interrupted the press conference, which I gave them real facts and shut the whole thing down. They didn't pass the bill that was after Sandy Hook. And this year they tried to pose 6 or 7 bills. I was there, every one of them, to testify against them. And the senators and the representatives and such that war for guns, they all shake my hands now because I come in there, I hit them hardcore with stats, proof, and that can't not be debated. And these people look like fools. They look like fools sitting up there to try to say, oh, well, we want no more than 10 rounds when cops come and say we need more than 10 rounds. You know what I mean? And I talk to cops all the time, and cops say that that'd be the stupidest things to limit to 10 or less rounds. He goes, on the target range, you get 40 out of 40, but under the stress of combat, you're lucky to get 1 or 2 shots in out of a 16-round magazine.
Oh, sure, because your entire brain, your point of view is just skewed.
Oh, yeah. And, the criminals, they're not going to abide by the laws. They're going to have 32-round magazines, and you got a 10-round magazine,
Well, that's what the whole gun-grabbing thing always, irritated me. It's like criminals aren't gonna listen. It's, the only people you're taking guns away from are law-abiding citizens who want to protect themselves. Criminals are going to have guns whether you say so or not, Mr. Liberal.
And that was my biggest question. My one main question I try to ask everybody. Nobody can answer that. I said, how does gun control take guns out of the hands of criminals when all says in the bill is about taxing or limited what citizens could have? It says nothing about criminals, and they could not answer that.
What's the definition of a criminal? A lawbreaker. So they're not going to obey the law, are they?
Yes, and I went up to him. I was polite. I said, sir, ma'am, I shook their hand, being polite, and what they do is they get defensive, and they start snarling at you because they can't answer that question.
Well, they're so used to the controlled media asking the baby questions that have already been pre-scripted. They're not expecting someone who actually has several brain cells to rub together, unlike most of the paid-off media. It's like, hey, wait a second, this person can actually think.
Yeah, it was great in Boston. They called the press conference, and I got the first question out, and they shut the press conference down because of that.
What was your first question?
About the false flag there.
Awesome.
And,
that was great.
Yeah, and I get the first question right up because in that, it's you don't raise your hand in those press conferences. You gotta be on top of your game. What I did was I paid attention. They said who's gonna speak, blah blah blah. So I knew after that one guy was speaking, I you say that like a box telegraphed it. Right when he got done speaking, I shot out that question, and the woman she come down and said press conference is over. The last one too, with the FBI and all that, with the pictures, and they shut that down real quick. You should have seen the looks on those people's faces. Oh my God, there's somebody that can see. Yeah. Now,
So did the establishment look like, hey, they actually knew what was going on, and you threw that question out there, and it was almost like the game is up?
Most of them look like deers in the headlights, and the top level people, they look like they want. If the looks could kill, I would have been dead right there.
Right. So they knew.
Oh yeah.
They knew what's going on.
He gave me the rock eye, the people's eye. Stink guy there because he didn't want to. That's why he just says no. Next question. Totally trying to avoid that question, which are valid.
Right. Now, as a result of you doing these, those really big ones you got in on, have you had repercussions of that? Did anything happen afterwards?
Oh, just talk shows, and somebody calls and gives me a death threat. All kinds of. I got a lot of ridicule within even my own family. Went through hell basically.
Why? What you were asking were very legitimate things.
Yeah, I got called un-American, even though I'm trying to save this damn country. It's right from my a lot of my friends and a lot of my family. They basically turned against me. Thought I was an embarrassment to the family and everything else, and because they didn't know the ramifications of what was really going on, how they were going to target the patriot groups. The Saturn brothers, they were the last resort. They were Plan C, sort of. They were going after the target of the patriot groups. That's why what we did. And Alex stood up there all day the next day, exploiting how they're going to, go after the patriot groups. And all of a sudden, the FBI cancels the second it was the third press conference. They canceled it. They postponed it to the next day because they had to come up with a Plan C. And they came up with the Saturn brothers, and which was just a bunch of hogwash. But it's just like, I went through a lot of personal hell. And it was it got ugly.
Wow, I'm sorry to hear that you had to experience that for doing the right thing,
Yeah. I'm glad it's all over with now. It's just like my girlfriend's parents, they make it real tough. I was living with them, and they threw me out, and at the time got a restraining order on me, and got it dropped eventually, but they caused a lot of problems between me and her. We're working things out now, and everything's fine now, but it's just like a lot of things on a personal level. And just all kinds of other stuff that went on, and but the thing is, I knew, once you punch the New World Order in the face, which we did, and I knew there was going to be some serious repercussions on a spiritual and physical level. And I was like, I'm just going to ride out the storm and, just keep going at it. And things are looking a lot better now, getting a lot better now and all that. And so that's the way, you got to look at it. And it was a weird feeling. It's just like on my way up there when I got the call, because I was sleeping and stuff late that day. And John Baum called me. Him and Alex Jones were on the phone and said, hey, how far are you from Boston? I was like, about 40 minutes. And he goes, you hear about the Boston? I was like, no. And he goes, oh, could you get up there? I'm like, yeah. And he goes, get in the car, I'll fill you in what's going on. So I'm driving in. I had no idea what the hell was, what didn't happen. I just knew about bombs, but I had this weird feeling that was like something historical was going to happen. Something that I couldn't even explain or felt. It was like a more of a divine type thing. You know what I mean? And
you were walking into a historical moment.
Yeah, and I didn't know what it was. I mean, I felt the presence of God there, and especially it being in the midst of that evil in that place, man, and with those people there. But I mean, it's just like it was an undescribable feeling that you knew this was perpetuated with everything you did in life. This is the moment of the grand finale, sort of.
Well, you certainly have my respect for everything you've done.
Oh,
that was one of the first things I've seen of you. What was that press conference? So.
Yeah, and it's just getting the questions out. The local 15 news. They said, hey, was announcements made about the bombs going off, and Boston Globe tweeted over 3,000 times. People say, oh no, that was proven wrong. No, it wasn't proven wrong. 3,000 people retweeted it. And even we had screenshots of InfoWars. They took early in the morning screenshots of the tweet about the bomb drills being done at the same two locations of where the bombs went off. And not to mention the police radio, people recorded the radio on the police about the bomb drills early in the morning, tell them to maintain radio silence and everything else. And it was all the makings of it was either one of two things, okay? It was a false flag, which I really think it was, or it was a drill going badly wrong.
Yeah, I could see either one, actually. You're right.
Then they want us to believe that this guy in the wheelchair, I forgot his name there, got his legs blown off. He had about 6-7 people between him and the bomb, but his legs got blown off. And he's being,
crisis actor.
Yep. And he's being carted away, and anybody knows that, hey, when you get your legs blown off, there's 4 major arteries, 2 in each leg. And you don't put him in the wheelchair. You within a minute or two, the person always passes out, and within 4 or 5 minutes, they could end up dead most of the time. But what they did is they put him in the wheelchair, and you can see one of the tourniquets just came right off, but there was no blood anyway. There's no blood squirting out and nothing. And this guy, and anybody knows anything about EMT, once you get your legs cut off, you got to put them in a gurney, elevate the legs, and put tourniquets on them, and get them to the hospital ASAP. Why was he sitting there in the wheelchair? And they attended to 6 other people first before they got to him. And he's sitting there all nonchalantly, just sitting there, no emotions on the face. If that was me, I'd be screaming my head off. There would be blood everywhere, even with tourniquets. There would be blood squirting out like a sieve.
Oh, absolutely.
No blood on the ground, no trail. And the woman that laid on top of him, she was a black woman with a red dress, and the front of it was all white. She gets up, there's no blood on, not one drop of blood. And you can see the other guy pulling his legs off. And then she decides to jump inside that pool of fake blood. And I'm not saying if it was no real injuries or not. I'm not sure. I mean, I can't say it wasn't. But that whole thing of Jeff Bauman, that's his name. Jeff Bauman getting his legs blown off, that is completely hogwash.
Has that ever been followed up on? Did anyone look to see who that person was?
There's a couple of people that did, and I haven't confirmed it, but they believe he's this guy. I forgot his real name. He got his legs blown off in 2011 in Afghanistan. And he's got pictures of him at different places and even the crisis events, acting events.
Right, so he really was a crisis actor.
Yeah.
It looks like.
Yeah, and then he gets all this glory now, and he goes around signing books. The guy's a millionaire now. Goes around signing books. Everybody's like, oh, Jeff Bauman, you're a hero. And I'm waiting for him to come around here because I want to actually go confront him and see his reaction to that.
And that sounds like a good time.
Yeah.
What do you have on the horizon? What do you have coming up?
Right now, it's getting, try to land a good spot for my radio show, and been through a couple of networks and talked with Freedomizer Radio just having a lot of technical problems with that, and also trying to just do it on my own too right now. And we're grouping together with a bunch of other shows, and we're gonna actually create our own network and everything, and just try to get this moving, and try to, because I want to. My goal is to do it for a living, the radio show, and having like a nightly news show almost, and reports every night, and other shows with all the reports and stuff, and touching on different things as well. And my thing is on my show, I want to be like a mix of based Alex Jones of coast to coast. You know what I mean?
Now you're trying to tie that in with InfoWars or separate?
I would like to tie it in InfoWars, and eventually InfoWars they want to grow. You know what I mean? On the InfoWars network, be more than just the Alex Jones show, and I would love to do a show for InfoWars.
Yeah, isn't his idea basically to start an actual television network? So it would be more like a variety of different people hosting various reality shows, basically.
That's his goal, and if you see the new studios, it's amazing. It costs a lot.
I've heard him talk about it.
Yeah, it costs a lot of money for that, and I'm supposed to fly down there soon, hopefully. Alex wants me to come down for a few weeks and check out the studio, do some reports and all that. So that'll be interesting to see everybody again. And, they're great people, though. I'll tell you, I've never worked around a bunch of awesome people. I mean, they're second to none with everything, and editing to the producing. When I was down there, I wasn't just a reporter. I was a producer, a cameraman, a nightly news host. I mean, just you're all over the spectrum down there. You wear more than one hat when you work for InfoWars.
That sounds fantastic.
We had, one reporter. He was there for a short time. He worked for mainstream media. And, he was surprised. I got to do my own editing. I got to do this. I got to do that. I'm you got to wear more than one hat. You don't just sit there in front of the camera and be all, famous like the mainstream media reporters,
Well, no, I'm assuming it's still, despite how much he's grown the network over the years, it's still almost like a mom and pop kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, you're busy. I mean, I got in there the reporters got in about 11 o'clock or so, 11, 12 o'clock. I would get in there about 8 o'clock in the morning because I was a producer for Alex's show. We get in there, print up all the news. Me, CJ, and Chris, and at the time he was there, and Wes, and all them. We get in there and John Bound, print up all the news, get the news pieces together, all the stuff we need to put in the TriCaster and all that. And I sort out the news on Alex's desk for him, put them in different categories, and he would call us up ahead of time and say, "Hey Dan, print me out this, and that." And during the show it was pretty interesting because I kept the same mind frame as Alex. So when he was starting to talk about fluoride, I would already be in the computer pulling up the documents from Harvard University, and or if he's talking about FEMA camps, I pull up the Army documents and everything else, and even before he got to say it, I would have them on the screen for him. And it was fun because it was like a team thing, And the thing is, whoever's hosting, whether it be Alex, me, or whoever, the thing is, whoever's producing, your job is to back them up 100%. If Alex is saying the fluoride's bad for you, your job is to prove on the screen that he's telling the truth.
Right. So the idea is we're discussing a subject, and then you're showing the documents. It's like, hey, I'm not BSing here. This is where it comes from. Here's my proof.
Yep. And we did that on the nightly news and everything else, and it was a good time. Everybody, all those guys and girls down there, they're amazing people, and that amount of time I was down there, it was like we were like a family. You know what I mean? Actually, we were all family, and I still talk to them all the time. And I had all of them on my show at one point, and just good people, and just like because we've been in the trenches together, so it's like a brotherhood.
That's really awesome to hear. What would you have to say? Hopefully, this isn't too sensitive of a question. A lot of people attack Alex, especially other media people.
Yeah.
Even alternative media, and I don't get involved with stuff like that. This isn't a personal thing. This is about getting information out there. But what would you, since you've been there, what would you say to people who say he's, and I have heard the most ridiculous things about Alex. It's just like, I'm pretty sure he's just a guy.
Oh yeah, I got all wild eyed rumors. Oh, he's an Illuminati. He's a Jesuit. He's a Zionist. I'm like, if you even spent a day with the guy, you would feel like such a retard for even thinking that stuff. And you know what I mean? And these people.
The bottom line, when they say, is that he's bought and paid for, that he's serving the system. Like, to take all the silly parts out of it, just
paid
like
opposition, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know if there's any justification for that. People say he omits certain things. I don't know. I listen quite often just because it's an easy place to get news from. I don't know where they're coming from on that. Is Alex a bit over dramatic at times? Yes, that's his thing.
And the thing is, when you're hosting a show all the time, and like before a show, after a show, he's doing other shows on news things and everything else. It's just so much work that guy does, and it gets overwhelming when you get all the stuff coming at you. And the thing is, with InfoWars, I mean, you don't got just the local news. You got the worldwide news coming at you And, you know, you got to sort through every day. We get like thousands. Rob do show me the emails when people submit tips in. People say, "Oh, I submit these in, and I never get a response." But he showed me why. Literally every day, over 10,000.
Oh, it's got to be gazillions.
Oh yeah, and thousands of emails a day with tips and all that. And there's like only so much you can go through, and it's just overwhelming. And Alex, I mean, he gets fired up, you know, and you can't help it, you know, because it's like, you know, you see all the stuff on a mass scale. It's like it's hard not to get fired up about it.
No, that's understandable. Plus, he's making it up as he goes along. It's not like he's working for a company that's got guidelines. He's just pushing and pushing and pushing. This is the way I see it anyway. It seems to me he is trying to grow that organization every year. And if I always say, hey, man, if you don't like his style, at least he's waking people up and he's getting info out there. Is he perfect? Of course not. Who is?
Exactly. And to answer your question earlier, you know, the people who hate on him, mainstream and alternative, one, it's jealously. And two, they, you know, the people on the alternative media, they don't realize Alex Jones, okay? Alex Jones and Matt Drudge, they're the ones who created alternative media. Judge created it, and Alex Jones brought it to a whole new level. And everybody, even people who don't like him, could have actually agreed to that. But the thing is, in fighting like that, or you're just destroying yourself, because nobody. It's hard enough to swallow. And these are people who in the alternative media got to listen to that. Don't like Alex Jones. It's hard enough for the public to swallow this red pill, let alone seeing people on the same team fighting with each other.
Right.
So if you got disagreements with each other, you know, keep it to a personal level. But you know what? You know, when a push comes to shove, if it wasn't for Alex Jones, alternative media wouldn't be where it is today. So, I mean, like, and, you know, again, nobody's perfect either. We all make mistakes. I make mistakes. Alex makes mistakes. But we come out and admit it. Say, hey, you know, I was wrong. I'm sorry. You know, and that, you know, because we're not perfect. So, but I mean, people, I think most of the time is just hating because they get involved with radio and all that, and all of a sudden they want all the money. And it's not about the money. It's like, Alex, like, you know, he utilizes every cent of that money that comes into the store, through the donations, everything, and he puts it to use. And if anybody actually seen the studio he's got, thousands of square feet, and every bit of that money goes right into the operation. Yeah, I mean that we got the best cameras, and like always updating equipment, and building new studios, getting reporters out to places. I mean, just to send a reporter out, like what they do with Jakari, and I think it was John Bowner went out to California for the radio contestant. It costed them about $7,000 just to go to 3 locations. That's just the travel fees, not counting the hotels and nothing else. So
right, and this isn't corporate sponsored anything.
Yeah. So people need to understand that. Why is he always plugging this and that? Because you know what, you need money to operate the foundation. You know, I mean the operation.
Yeah, that's the way I always took it. I always thought the best thing for Alex, since he has a style that not everybody gets along with, because, like I said, he can be overly dramatic. That's just the way he is. That to me seems like that's his personality. So have multiple shows. Have people like David Knight, who's got that real straightforward, like, I'm a 60s announcer kind of voice, you know, like real straight-laced. For the people who that's the way they need to digest this information. Because at the bottom line with all this is it's about the information. It's about getting the truth out there.
Oh, it is, and I mean, everybody in InfoWars has got their own unique style, which makes the good team. You know, because if everybody was the same, you know, I mean, like a basketball team. If it was all full of Michael Jordans, they wouldn't have won nothing. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's like everybody needs their own individual talent to make a perfect formula for a championship team. And you know, again, David Knight, he knows how to stick it to people without getting aggressive about it. You know, Jakari's like got a great voice, and he's just like fluent. And Leanne McAdoo, she's just amazing, you know, as a female reporter and all that. And, you know, the other guys, too, John Bound and Darren McBreen, when he hosts. Darren's, like, awesome on the news. I mean, he makes the Enforced Nightly News, I think. And Rob Dew, I mean, he's just, you know, incredible, his stuff. And, you know, it's just like everybody, you know, Paul Joseph Watson, I mean, that guy is great. You know, he's from the UK and all that, and he covers all stuff out of that area. And I cover stuff from New England here, and you got Mark Dice once in a while doing reports in California for us. And
yeah, I like Mark too.
Yeah, and it's funny when his petition reports. That's creative. It's like, oh, sign this, and so Obamacare can come in your house and confiscate everything or whatever, you know.
That's eye-opening, though. Like that, I've heard Mark do a lot of those man-on-the-street kind of things.
Yeah.
And it's, I mean, the bottom line is it's sad that, oh my God, I can't believe people are falling for this.
You gotta check his videos out of Black Friday. He's driving around bullhorning everybody.
I didn't see those. I've seen a lot of his petition ones where he's out just asking for various things.
Oh, it's great. You're all a bunch of zombies buying Chinese slaves good while people going hungry. You stand out in the cold for 4 hours when you can't stand an hour in line to go to work. But it's hilarious, man. Like he's like really good like that.
Now, what do you make of all the crazier things that Alex and Mark and them are into, like Alex breaking into Bohemian Grove and all that? Because I've looked into that stuff too, and it seems that that's really direct evidence that the elite are into some really creepy stuff.
I think that was awesome. I think that's what really one of the things that really catapulted Alex into the where he is today is the Bohemian Grove.
That's what I think too. And then when he confronted Mr. Gergen, and you could tell by the look on his face that he was just a tiny bit uncomfortable about having such a thing being brought out in public.
Then the FBI agents down in Waco there, they were basically sitting there and mocking the whole Waco incident. Confronted the FBI agents, so it was good.
What I really think is happening with modern society is, I don't think, as I call them, the creepy old men, the old money, I don't think they foresaw the way the technology is going, because even though they're using it to manipulate us, I don't think they understood the repercussions of what the internet is.
Oh, no. I mean, they developed and created it for their diabolical purposes, no doubt. But the thing is, we're using a system against them, and it's going out of control right now. That's why they're trying to come up with the internet kill switch, and people, on government levels say there's another internet that they're using. But the thing is, even if they shut this down, there's still ways people are going to get on the internet, still ways that they're going to get the information out. I mean, when they created the internet for the people, they created it for one purpose, is to know what you're doing and for control. But people have, turned it around to use it against them.
Well, sure. And then we're using it for mass communication just like they do. It's like, oh, I can take this picture that I took, and now everyone on planet Earth can see it.
Here's a good example. During Fukushima, now the United States government moved in to help them out, but not physically. What they did was they killed any social network. Anybody from in the Japan area could not access anything on the internet that was a social network. In other words, because they didn't want the people uploading videos of what was really going on.
Right, and it's obviously a lot worse than they've ever made it out to be.
Exactly. Now, if other people in Japan upload these videos constantly, the mainstream media will look like a bunch of dumbasses, which they are, and EPA won't say radiation is good for you. It's just like, and how they want to downplay everything, justify everything, and switch it around and say, oh, radiation's good for you. But, I'm not telling you the high levels of radiation all over the West Coast right now, and even over here on the East Coast, isotopes in different areas, right here in Massachusetts and everything else.
Oh, God, it's going insane, and it's only going to get worse because there's really nothing they can do about it.
Oh, no, and the Temco, they didn't, instead of plugging up, sealing off the whole area, they wanted to save money to try to keep the thing, keep the reactors without sealing them up. So, of course, the radiation still flood into the ocean. They don't care because they just want to save money.
That's going to have very long-lasting repercussions.
I mean, it makes Chernobyl look like a walk in the park.
Yeah, exactly.
And people think it's all over, but still, I mean, radiation levels are dramatically increasing. You got fish with tumors on them, some weird genetic morphed fish out there, and, it's the ramifications. And it's not even count with Monsanto putting into the ocean, cloned fish and everything else. And with the radiation, God knows what's going to happen. You're going to have sea creatures and,
right.
All kinds of crazy genetic mutated organisms.
Well, what's going to happen is it's going to start destroying the natural ecosystem. It's taking chunks out of it, one event and the next and the next and the next, and pretty soon it's going to be like what's left.
Yeah, just like the bees. I mean, they're starting to become extinct.
Yeah, that's dangerous to say the least.
Yeah, people say, it's just a bee, they're pests anyway. But, they can't pollinate the plants. I mean, they're going to have to buy pollination to grow stuff. I mean, out in the open, bees need to be there to pollinate things. It's the circle of nature there.
That's right. No, it's the whole circle of life, and people just don't understand. There's this great big cycle that goes on, and you can't disrupt one cog in that wheel, that has repercussions.
Absolutely. And, it's just like you see all this going around in the mainstream media. Yeah, they're still reaching out to a lot of people, keeping a lot of people asleep, but the thing is, overall, we're having a great effect. We're waking people up about Monsanto, about the stuff, the GMOs and everything else too. And that's why a big, a Proposition 37, I think it was, in California.
I believe so.
Yeah, basically demanding Monsanto to label your foods. Whole Foods say, hey, if it's a GMO, put it on the label. Which is all over the country. People are actually aware of that now. Even people who don't even tune into alternative media. People who eat healthy know that GMO food's bad. And, now they're aware of high fructose corn syrup, which has now been relabeled as corn sugar, which is. And
do you remember the commercials it did a few years ago to try and just brainwash people into thinking that there's nothing wrong with it?
Doesn't know the difference.
Yeah. Blatant lies.
Yeah. Then aspartame, they rebranded as amino sweet.
Right. Yep. I saw that too.
Same different name, but you start to see the companies. Like I used to get this chocolate milk. Right on the thing says no high fructose corn syrup. Right on, big bold print because people are becoming aware of that. And
you're seeing that more and more, thankfully.
Yeah, even Heinz ketchup. They sell particular ketchup that's well natural, no high fructose corn syrup. And people are starting to become aware of this, and they're right into the product companies and everything else. Say, hey, we don't want this stuff. Like Whole Foods. I mean, Whole Foods is Whole Foods. They should have nothing in that store that's GMO.
They do, though. They're getting better about it.
Yeah.
And this is the thing with all that. I mean, we have to vote with our dollars, as the statement goes. And I like that. I like the meaning behind that. These companies will do what we want if we stop buying their products. Like, hey, we'll buy your ketchup. Take the high fructose corn syrup out.
Absolutely, and it's just like again, the mainstream media is falling. Us alternative media, we're just on the rise. I mean, thankfully we got a lot of shows popping up. But yeah, you do got some shows and stuff like I think it was I don't want to mention their names, something Max.com. I mean, they're the ones who were saying this woman on there. She claimed to be a symbologist or whatever. She's pointing things out in the Clive Bundy pictures. Oh, this here forms a triangle, so that proves right there he's a Illuminati. It's like, are you kidding me? If you watch it, you just like, wow, she just like kills it for everybody. And the whole website there, and it's like because Clive Bundy was standing, I guess the way the land was structured, where the camera angle looked, it looked like a little triangle, but it wasn't. And I'm like, they're using all these stupid things that have nothing to do with that. And
well, it's either somebody just taking the stuff too far and being paranoid, or they're disinformation just to cloud the issues.
Yeah, and these people just going off with their tangents, and I'm like, oh my god, no wonder why people think we're a bunch of lunatics.
Right, and it's like, no, we're not crazy. Our eyes are open, and most of the things besides maybe 9/11. It's documented. Like, they say these things. Like, just the simple crap that David Rockefeller has said, about if the allegation against my family is to, against the United States and start a one world government, is, I stand guilty as charged. That's his words, Then
his quote about the mainstream media, of them keeping
quiet for 40 years or something to that effect.
And if it wasn't for the concealment, we wouldn't go away with half the stuff we got away with.
Yeah, I mean, it's like these people are saying this, and that's the truth. That's it right there. Those people at the top of the media were controlled enough that what they were actually doing behind the scenes didn't get out there. And this goes back to the point I made earlier, that the advent of the internet and this mass communication that's all intertwined is changing that game in a way I don't think these creepy old men ever foresaw, because they're creepy old men. They're thinking in 20th century terms. To them, it's still the 50s,
I'm in Rhode Island here, and more and more every day I'm getting beeped at. People, once in a blue moon, I'll get beeped at with a finger, but like all the time, every day now, people beeping, like, waving out, throwing their hands in the air, the fist, whatever, like, yeah, InfoWars, whatever, because I got InfoWars stickers on my car. A 9/11 was inside job, went out the second, there wouldn't be a third, stuff like that, and the Fed, and so, it shows a lot of, and I'm starting to see a lot more InfoWars stickers everywhere, so it's starting to get huge up here in Rhode Island.
Now, would you say, you said you're from a small area, are you becoming well-known? Because, I mean, I know you were putting your own looks down, but I would say to your advantage, you are distinctive looking. I know what you look like. And you have a distinctive voice as well. So, I mean, that actually is an advantageous thing because you're recognizable.
Yeah. Everybody tells me I'm a unique individual.
Well, you know what? You don't have to be attractive to have charisma, and that's something I've tried to reinforce to people over and over again. You can't go by that Hollywood standard of everyone, every dude's got to be 6 foot tall and 130 pounds or whatever. You know what I mean? That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. That's just absolutely ridiculous.
I like it because, I feel like I'm a own unique individual. I'm not a copycat of nobody, and I stand out. You know what I mean? And that's what I like to portray because I encourage everybody else, to be yourself. Be who you are. Don't imitate other people. Don't, of course, like when you grow up into a profession, you idolize people and you start off from there, but you eventually work off on your own.
Sure, you draw from the people that you respect. Like, hey, I like what that person did. I'm gonna take that and I'm gonna go even further with it. And then that's what I'm doing with my own radio show. I heard plenty of others doing it, and I decided, well, I want to try that. And this is only my 6th episode, and I've gotten a couple thousand views. And to me, in a little over a month, that's like, wow, that's pretty good. I'm not anybody that anybody's ever heard of, and I'm already doing pretty well.
Absolutely, and a year from now could be $10, and I'm just gonna progress from there.
Right, and if I keep having people like you, people who already are well known, who are willing to give me a little bit of their time, and we discuss some serious issues with some serious facts, it's just going to keep building from there. And then once I get my music out there, which I'm intending to do next, it's just going to be one thing leads to the next. And this is what we have to get through to people. You can do it too. I'm a person, you're a person, we're all coming from the same place. We just need to take action. We need to get off our butts and do it.
Absolutely, and I meet people all the time when I go to rallies or do reports. Even just at the mall, InfoWars fans come up to me all the time to take pictures with me and everything else, and have signed a magazine sometime. And even at my work, I had 2 people already have me sign the InfoWars magazine, and it feels cool, but because you're reaching out to people. But the thing is, you don't want to be as a rock star, but it feels good because you're reaching out to people. You know what I mean? And but you do encourage them, hey, I'm just a regular person like you, and you could do the same thing,
Right, that's the whole point. Like, if you want someone to take action, we'll look in the mirror. And look at me, look who I am, look where I came from. You can do that too. And it's good that we're all different looking and coming from different places. I look nothing like you. I have long hair. I look like a musician from the 60s. I look different than Alex Jones or whomever, and that's good because each one of us can say, hey, we're just like you, we're everybody, and anyone can do this, and that's what should be going on now because there's strength in numbers, obviously, and there's way more of us than quote unquote them, and if we're all on the same page and we're fighting back against what they're trying to bring down on us, well, that certainly increases our chances of being successful, of getting back what we lost.
It's like that Disney Pixar movie, The Bug's Life. There, that alone right there says it.
The scene with the where they're discussing the ants. If one ant stands up, they all stand up, and they outnumber us however many to one. And that's exactly the truth.
That's why Hitler used fluoride to dumb the Jews down, because realistically, the Jews could have took apart the Nazis. They could have, if they were united and had a conscious and awareness of what was really going on, they could have squashed the Nazis like a bug.
Now, here's the big question, though. I'm sure that the elite are aware of this and are aware of the fact that more and more people every day are waking up. What do you think that they're going to have as their next move to try and squash this? Because I don't think they're ready to wipe out the entire planet yet in their whole transhumanist agenda. I don't think they're ready for that yet.
Well, they're going to use more, and they go back to the same old playbook. They're going to install this by using fear. They're going to blow something up, and I've been saying for a while they're probably going to use a nuclear bomb here in America, blame it on whoever. Well, this is why you got to give up your rights, and people are going to fall for it. Because they install fear to the hearts of the American people, and all of a sudden they're complying with any, look at 9/11. And they're right away complying, oh, all right, you know what, we should have TSA in the airports, sticking their hands down our pants. And then if I interview people at the airport in Texas, over here too, for InfoWars, and people say, well, if it keeps me safe, I don't care. It's like, what? And Benjamin Franklin says anybody gives up your civil liberties for security, you don't get or deserve it either.
Right.
But these people don't concept that. They're willing to give up their civil liberties for a fake security, for fake terrorism, and even if it was real terrorism, I still wouldn't give it up. It's like,
well, no, because then the terrorists win.
Yeah.
Then you've given them exactly what they were trying to do. They're trying to instill fear in you and take away your way of life.
It's funny when I travel, a lot of TSA guys know who I am, and a lot of them are good to me. Like, oh, just tell Alex we're not all like that. and I get the pat down, and they're like, look, I'm not, I just want to let you know I'm not going to touch inside here. I just gently touch over here. And I'm just sitting there laughing, you know what I mean? Like, just don't worry about it. But you get some jerks, so, that do or don't know who you are, and they're just plain out jerks, you know what I mean? And, well, if you want to opt that back in, they'll make you wait there for 20 minutes still. If you want to opt back in, you can do it at any time. And they'll try to discourage you from doing it. And I'm like, yeah, I'll wait here. I got all day. That's why I get here out too early.
A few years ago, probably around 2010, I'm guessing. Of course, I always opt out because I know what those machines are and I don't want to be bombarded with radiation. I had an older gentleman actually ask me, he was a TSA worker, he goes, so let me ask you something. Why did you opt out? And I kind of looked at him funny for a second. I was like, well, I've done my research on what those machines really are, and I don't want to be exposed to that repeatedly because I travel a lot. And he goes, oh, well, they told us. This was his words. They told us there's nothing wrong with them. I was like, sir, you should probably do your own research because you're standing next to that thing 5+ days a week.
Oh, yeah, I told a couple of TSA guys that, that operate the machine. That's like, you really shit. The eye looks on their face. They wanted to say something, but, they were like, nope. And
there's no bloody shielding on it.
Yep.
And what happens when you go get an X-ray?
That's what I told them, and they're like, they looked at, looks of concern, but they knew they couldn't say nothing because their bosses are on, and so, yeah.
Well, at least you planted that seed that hopefully they'll go look it up and be like, maybe I should start looking for another job.
Absolutely.
I don't think being a TSA worker pays that much.
I helped with the National Opt-Out Day, the first one we had.
I remember that.
Big part of that, too, and, we helped, because I was part of We Are Change for a long time, Luke Rudowski and all that, and, that was my first activism, actually, is becoming part of We Are Change. And, We Are Change Rhode Island at the time in Blackstone Valley, whatever. And anyway, we did the National Opt-Out Day, and we got kicked off the airport, pushed out physically by the police and everything. And, we were waking people up. We got a lot of people to actually not go through the backscatter machines and choose to opt out. So, yeah, it pissed them off, but,
Which probably slowed everything down, right?
Even if there's one person, like I told the media, all the local media came to interview me because I was a coordinator, and I told them, so even if one person opts out, we've accomplished it, and we know for sure, confirmed that so far at the time with I said 3 people confirmed that they opt out. So we accomplished our mission. Even if it's just one person, all this was well worth it to wake up one person to save one person.
Well, that's exactly. Mission accomplished. You at least did something. You reached someone.
Yeah.
Now, how do you feel We Are Change is going? I don't hear about them as much as I used to. Do you still think that that organization is spreading and people are still getting involved with that?
Yeah, I think it's a good organization because it just encourages people, hey, if there's not a chapter in your area, you can start your own.
I used to hear a lot about, Luke Rudowski, who started it, and I met him a few years ago. I don't really hear much about him anymore, though. Is he still involved? I actually haven't looked up.
He's more of an independent freelance journalist.
Okay, but he's still doing activism work.
Yeah. I mean, well, Rand Paul, he actually confronted Rand Paul when Rand Paul was endorsing Mitt Romney and all that. Him and Abby Martin, and Rand Paul tried to have the credentials taken away from him.
Really?
Yeah. Because a lot of people out there endorse, Rand Paul for president, but people quickly forget of the actions that Rand Paul, took, joining with the GOP and everything else, and become one of the spokesmen now, and endorsing Mitt Romney. I'm like, you don't endorse evil. Ron Paul. I don't think he's a Ron Paul. I really don't. And if not, he's still got ways to go. But I don't think he's ready yet for a president. And plus, the whole GOP, the whole Republican, there's no way in hell. Even if he is a good guy. And there's no way in the hell, if the whole country could vote for him, but there's no way in hell the Republican Party's going to give him the nomination.
Right. Well, we saw with both of Ron Paul's campaigns that they're going to cheat it anyway.
Yeah. Here in Rhode Island, right, we had over 4,000 people packed URI Stadium, and there was still over 1,000 people outside to see Ron Paul. Mitt Romney comes down, and he had about 400 or 500 people, and about 300 of them were his own people. And I seen one Mitt Romney sign somewhere. I know it was a bumper sticker, but Ron Paul stuff plastered all over the state of Rhode Island. But who do you think wins the Rhode Island election? Well, Mitt Romney won it by 34%. I mean, if that's not fraud. You know,
Yeah, it's not even believable.
yeah, it wasn't even close. You know what I mean? And the thing is, the GOP, the Republican Party, they'll never let anybody win the ticket. They already have the ticket picked, and I really believe it's Jeb Bush. I believe they already got Jeb Bush picked out from 2010 because they've seen all the activity that was going on with Jeb Bush. He's doing a lot of visits to Obama, meetings at the White House, the Council on Foreign Relations. He's doing this, that, and the other thing. And I'm saying to myself, this guy's going to be the next president of the United States after Obama's 2 terms. And I even called it this. Obama's going to go 2 terms. There's no doubt about that. And because he's a perfect establishment puppet.
Oh, yeah.
They swing the pendulum back over to the right. They're more than likely it's going to be Hillary Clinton and Jeb Bush, and Jeb Bush is probably going to come out. And I'm more sure of it because he's an establishment puppet, and he's gonna implement what his grandfather and his father started, which is the North American Union. It's got the problem, reaction, solution, order, or chaos for the border crisis, for this whole Ebola virus thing and everything. We need to just open the borders and create a North American Union, which was already been created by George Bush. And
so do you think Obama's like creating all the problems that they're setting up for the next one to fix?
Yeah, because Obama was actually supposed to usher in the North American Union. That was his change campaign. But they didn't have no idea of people waking up. People started waking up, and it pushed the New World Order plans back dramatically.
I think so too. It seems like they're getting slowed down a little bit.
Oh yeah, 2000. I think it was August of 2010, somewhere over there. That was the implementation date for the North American Union. But for the mass awakening, people taking up arms in Texas to stop these corridor highways and everything else. And Clinton was all behind it too. Obama was behind it. The Bushes, and people woke up, and it just slowed the New World Order down dramatically. They were supposed to push the Real ID Act through, which is the one ID for all 3 countries. It failed miserably.
Right.
And the beast, I call it, the Obamacare, the implant chip.
I think people are pretty hip on that now. Like, that's the one thing that might really trigger a lot of people to go like, whoa.
Yeah, I even talked to Democrats and saying, well, there's no way in hell I'm going to be implanted with the chip. Then I say, well, hey, Obama, where's that? Well, pages 1001 and 1008 on your Obamacare, which says everybody's going to be mandatory implanted with a Class 2 medical device, which is a RFID, radio frequency identification device, into your hand. You know what I mean? And the globalists already have, the Rockefellers. I mean, have you seen Aaron Russo's videos?
Yes, I have.
Freedom of the Fascism and all that. He was friends with these people, the Rockefellers and all that. He said, hey, we're gonna plant everybody with chips. You can't buy yourself without it. They're gonna pass it off as a medical device first. Which they're doing with the Obama. All countries in the United Nations that have universal care. They have different names, but Obamacare is actually universal health care. And all these UN countries have this. And in these bills there's implementation for implantable chip. They're going to pass it off as a medical device, and when the G20 moves to a one world currency, which is going to be a cashless, paperless society, it's going to be currency on a digital chip. It's going to be right on the chip that you already have for your medical device. And if you want to throw some biblical prophecy into this, and now the verses in Revelations 18 says, he who has wisdom and understanding, let him calculate the number of the beast, and this is the key word, it is also the number of the man, 666. It also goes on to say you can't buy or sell without it and all that. And when he's explaining 666, anybody seen Da Vinci pictures of the man in the circle, his arm and his legs spread open? That's called the golden ratio, 6 by 6 by 6 of a human being. That's the number of man.
Right.
That he's trying to say is, back then, because you can say biometrics chips, he's trying to say that they're going to pass it off as a biometrics implant, and you can't. And then when they move to the cashless society, you can't buy or sell without it. So they're going to pass it off first as a medical device, and then when they move to the cashless society, they're going to implement it on the already chip that you already have.
Now, what do you think is going to be the catalyst to bring in that cashless, that digital currency? Do you think Bitcoin is something that's actually dirty?
I really believe I did a whole report on that Bitcoin. I don't trust it. Nobody knows the sources of it. People speculate, but nobody knows who really is pushing us out. I really think, and it's all leading to that all it is to get people accustomed. And what they do is say, oh, no, the government's attacking us all the time. Yeah, it's called plausible deniability. Because when you deny something, when you're against something, it makes the people want it even more.
Well, I love the concept behind it, but I'm definitely leery about it.
Well, the concept's good, and it might be a good intention. Who knows? You know what I mean? It could be good people behind it, but no, again, nobody knows. But what it really does is it makes people accept the cashless society.
Right.
Because it's not physical cash. It's not. It's all digital currency and everything else.
Right.
And people, yeah, they can make coins out of whatever, but ultimately it's a cashless society. And under a cashless society, I mean, you could any kind of fraud could go on. I mean, they could.
Well, yeah, it doesn't matter at that point. It's just numbers in a computer, and they can just change them at will.
And the IRS would have a field day. In other words, you couldn't pay me to fix your brakes on your car. What they would do, all right, it would tax you and him. Then that information would go to the state, and the state would be like, oh, the state inspection company. Oh, wait a minute, hold on. Dan Bidondi wasn't a licensed mechanic. So, therefore, we're going to suspend your registration, and you have to go to a regular garage now to pay a licensed professional to do your brakes and re-inspect your car now. So that's where they're going down that road here, And then you can pay somebody to paint your house. For yard sales, flea markets, garage sales, stuff like that will be a thing of the past. I mean, everybody would be taxed. I mean, they would know where your currency's going. Even if it's Bitcoin, the IRS would have a field day. Just like that, say, tapping into your stuff, and they'll do the same thing, and they'll be taxed. Hey, I seen you bought, right on your Bitcoin account, you just bought $50 of lingerie for your girl at the yard sale. Not that you buy lingerie at a yard sale, but, we're going to tax you. You didn't pay the taxes on that, so here's a bill. And so it goes down a nasty road, and the Bitcoin might, sounds like a good concept, whatever, but again, it's conditioning the people for a cashless society. That's the only problem I have with it.
No, I agree with you there. Do you think there's going to be a catalyst or something that's going to get to that point? Because the thing that's holding up the Federal Reserve dollar right now is the fact that it's still tied as the petrodollar. That's keeping it afloat, no matter how much they print of it, technically print. That's still going to hold some sort of intrinsic value just because countries have to buy those to buy a barrel of oil.
Yeah, I think what's going to happen when they ultimately bankrupt, and this is where the gold ties in, and people need to pay attention to this, the gold and silver and all that. People say, buy gold and silver, blah, 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 and, the society. But the thing is, during a disaster, gold and silver is worthless. I mean, the people in Fukushima, Hurricane Katrina, was gold and silver? Did the gold and silver feed their families? No. It was starvable foods. But the thing is, I did a video on this too. It's called the gold heist, because even the Bible confirms it's going to be worthless. But the thing is, people don't realize there's a little country inside of London. It's a country, a little country inside of London. It's run by the Rothschild. They're the ones who come out every day to say what gold's going to be worth. They're the ones who dictate the prices. And if you see how the balance goes, when the economy's doing bad, gold skyrockets. When the economy's doing good, it goes back down. It's a evenly balanced scale, and they do that purposely to fool the people to buying gold. Now, there's nothing wrong with buying gold, whatever, but you know what? If you have money, you should buy starable foods and survival gear. That's more important. But the thing is, they're gonna collapse the whole system. It'll be the backbreaker. And one day that could come out tomorrow, right now, since everybody's buying, we'll buy your gold now, and they could come out tomorrow to say literally, hey, gold's gonna be worth today $5 an ounce. You know how many countries and banks and stores, everything, they would just bottom out. It would be the end of our whole economic society. They can literally do that if they wanted to. But they're going to drop gold as well, along with the economies, and that's going to be the financial backbreaker that's going to send the whole world plummeting and begging for help from the G20. And they implement the perfect solution, the world global economy, cashless society, new world order.
What do you think is going to lead up to that, though? Like, do you think there's going to be like a big event, or do you think it's going to be a slow descent, and then when they're finally done with whatever it is they're doing?
It's a gradual descent. This way they get people to submit more.
What about like a whole World War III scenario where a lot of people thinking that they're messing around just a little too much with Russia and China? Yeah,
the whole Russia and China thing, and it's like they want World War III. That's the thing. They want a World War III because not that this is a whole wacky thing about this. The whole wacky thing about this is it's all a giant stage WWE event.
Great way to put it.
All these leaders, they care less about their own people. Like everybody who plays a role in this big world stage, they all play a role. I'm a bad guy, I'm a good guy. The Bilderberg meeting say, hey, you two are going to war next year. They decide who goes to war. They decide who's going to win the war, and they fund both sides of it. And the people, like you say, Obama and Putin, they don't really hate each other. They're playing their roles. It's like a WWE show. I hate you, you hate me, I'm a bad guy, you're a good guy, we're going to kick each other's ass. But, hey, when all the fans go home, hey, we're going to go out to dinner together. We work out together. I'll go to your house tomorrow, and next week come over to my house and meet my family. You know, that's exactly how the world stage is played out. It's more fixed. I mean, yes, there are some countries that really don't go with the status quo, but it's all staged, all choreographed to push World War III for the New World Order. And again, Obama and Putin could care less how many people, Americans die, how many Russians die. It's no sweat off their brows.
Well, no, it's not them that goes to war. It's the common people.
Because they know in the end, the globalists know, hey, when all is said and done, 8 billion people on this planet, or 7.5 billion people, whatever, they're going to be dead. And we're going to have a perfect utopia, New World Order with nobody else to share it with.
Now, do you feel that there's a timeline for that?
I don't like to put timelines on things, but I mean, you could feel it, smell it, taste it, see it, all happening now. I mean, it's right around the corner. I mean, but the thing is too, is the possibility. I mean, the people waking up. That's what's really pushing things back.
Yeah, that's what I think too. Because a lot of people ask me those kinds of questions, and I'm like, well, it's flexible. It really depends upon what we do too, as much as what they do.
And the other thing, too, that they can't stand a point when I was mentioned earlier about these people, Luciferians. Now, they know, what they don't tell the lower levels, it's a giant pyramid. The elite, they believe in Lucifer as God.
Right.
They know Jesus is the Son of God. They know he's coming back. They know all the prophecy has to come fulfilled to bring forth the Antichrist on the planet. But they'll never tell the low levels that. They'll tell the low levels that God don't exist. They don't exist either, and they'll miscontribute all these different all this information to confuse everybody on the lower levels. Because again, they want a new world order and they don't want to share with nobody. But they know all the stuff that has to happen. But the thing is on God's timing too. So that's why I tell people, don't be afraid, because if God don't want it to happen, it's not going to happen. I don't know how many times God's throwing a monkey wrench in the works. Look at 2010. They were that close from signing the World Treaty. Obama said he's going to sign it, and he doesn't need approval by the U.S. people or the Congress. He's going to sign it. And he was going to sign that World Treaty with the global warming crap. And what happened was Washington, D.C. got that record snowfall. And at the same time, the entire continent just about was covered in snow. And people like, what the? All these globalists that were going to sign this deal, these presidents and such, they started to question global warming. Wait a minute. If global warming is real, how are we all covered in snow, record snowfall in history? And it collapsed the whole thing. But they were already right then a pen stroke away from the New World Order.
That's interesting. That's really interesting.
So, yeah. And it's it's divine intervention. It's God's timing, and it's also people waking up that puts a stop to it. Because like I tell people all the time, yeah, they work day and night to conspire plans to do stuff. But just say 9/11. How many years did it take them to correlate the whole plan? Many, many years.
Yeah, we don't know. Probably a long time though.
But if one person, 5 minutes on the air, just say he pirated every TV station across the country, then gave all details exactly what's going to happen, what plane's going to hit what. All those years of plans, all that money will be squashed out the window. That's why I tell people it only takes even a minute of truth could destroy years of elite's work.
Like happened with the Boston bombings, because you guys got it out there.
Yep, and if we didn't do that, the Patriot Group, they were ready to come round up the Patriot Groups. Yeah, they were one step away from rounding up all the Patriots and saying, hey, they're terrorists. They came out, they gave Rainbow Six Patriots that target Patriots as terrorists. And it just shows resistance is victory.
Oh, you absolutely have to do that. And that goes back to what I said earlier. Again, I don't think they foresaw this technology coming to the way it did, and the fact that we were able to utilize it the way we can. So when you guys blew that whole thing wide open, and it just went everywhere, I don't think they foresaw that. I really don't.
They look like deers in the headlights. I mean, like, what the... somebody infiltrated the mainstream media, and... Because all those mainstream media guys, they were there just to be there, There for a free ticket,
That whole thing, though, it seems weird, man. It's almost like they're thinking in 1950s terms, like old James Bond, kind of like cloak and dagger stuff, and hey, we could pull this over on people. It's not like that anymore. I can take a picture on my freaking iPhone, and I could send it to you, you could send it to Alex Jones, and all of a sudden, boom, whatever this event was that I happened to witness, it goes all over the planet.
Yep.
And I just don't think they saw that.
Oh, no, they're ignorant to it, too. You know, you get rallies going on, like, your mainstream media, like the kid that got shot in Missouri or whatever. They said only a few hundred people came out to protest against it. No, it was over 10,000 people. You know, and they dramatically downplay the numbers and upplay the numbers for the other side, you know. And it's, like the gun control here in Rhode Island, there's 40 people, I got it on video too, 40 people that came here for all the gun control bills, and it was well over 500 people, and that wasn't even counting the other people that couldn't make it that day. Over 500 people outside that was against the gun control bills, but the media said, about 40 people showed up.
Oh, that's a game I always hear they're playing.
Yeah.
And I think one of the jobs of the mainstream media is still to make us feel isolated and alone, that we're the crazy tinfoil hat people. You know, it's like, oh, you're just some crazy nut in your basement, your mom's basement, you know, looking at YouTube videos. When really it's like, no, there's lots of us.
Absolutely. And like, you cross your T's, dot your I's. And every information I learn, you know, I double check and look, you know, do my own research and to, you know, pull out the truth of the things. And, you know, because we all learn by experience, you know. I used to come out stuff, oh, they're doing this and that, and come to find out it was a spoof video, and I feel like a jackass, you know, and like, then I gotta come out and apologize, and, you know, which was a noble thing to do, come out and say, hey, I was wrong, it was a spoof video, and,
oh, sure, I mean, but we're gonna make mistakes, you know?
Yeah, and, it's what, you know, it's all about, you know?
Now, I have a question for you. This is something I've been hearing a lot about, and I don't know if you had ever looked into anything like this, but I keep hearing this term breakaway civilization. And I find this very fascinating, that this concept that a lot of the trillions of dollars of Black Ops money has actually gone to fund a secondary space program that's way beyond anything that the public sees in NASA, and that they've actually got space colonies. They're way more advanced than anything we would normally think of. Do you know anything about that? Because that's a very fascinating concept to me.
You know, yeah, I don't know, it sounds like to me like, well, I mean, if you want to go down that, like, the rabbit hole, you know what I mean, with aliens and everything else, and, you know, like, I like to, like, touch upon that, like, a lot of stuff for us before I talk about that, because people are like, oh my god, this guy's another crackpot, you know, but, you know, but that stuff really exists, and I think they're working with extraterrestrial beings to do this stuff, you know.
I hear a lot of people say that. My one question is, and I'm not discounting it either, I'm very fascinated by such things. I've seen some interesting things myself, so I do have my own personal opinions. I don't take a side when I'm doing interviews, and I let guests come on and present what they feel is their point of view, and I'm totally cool with that, and I have my own. I feel my job as an internet journalist is just to present information, and you do what you want with it. And I'm curious what... I hear a lot of people talking about the alien thing, and I want to know more about that. What do you think? Go ahead and tell me, because this is a subject that is very fascinating to me, and if it's true, that is a huge X factor that has to be considered in this whole game that's going on.
Well, I mean, like, if you like stand on a neutral point of position right now, like when you got to look at all the scenarios. And when you look in the United States, they downplay everything. Even though, I think it was in Texas, the whole city, sheriffs, high testability people, witnessed a 300-yard spacecraft being followed by fighter jets. They dismissed it as swamp gas. You know what I mean? Even though the whole town's seen it. You know what I mean? And again, it goes back to plausible deniability. You know, and all over the world, I mean, in Russia, you know, the spacecraft over the Moscow airport. All the Russian media seen that. Russia Today reported it. It was all over the media and the international media. But here in the United States and the UK and Australia, we have a dumbed down media that likes to keep people with their heads in the sand. Oh, that's just a conspiracy, and then people start laughing when you mention aliens and whatnot. And but they don't take accountability that the United Nations went out in 2010 to appoint official space ambassador. And her job, she didn't accept the position, but they're appointing an official space ambassador. Her job is to greet alien life if alien forms came down here. And the Pope's astrology even going on record to say, hey, he would baptize an alien no matter how many tentacles it would have.
Right, I've heard that one, yeah.
And the Vatican actually built the telescope. They had the University of Arizona build the telescope.
Yes, they did a very powerful one.
Yep, and it's nicknamed Lucifer. And they say, oh, that's just acronym for something. How coincidental is that? I mean,
yeah, that's a little too much in my opinion.
Yeah, and they said it was built to look for extraterrestrial life.
And why would the Vatican be interested in looking through the eye of Lucifer?
Exactly. And, people don't correlate these things, and, it's just it's just a mind-boggling. It really is, and it's just right in everybody's faces, and people don't see it. The movies, the TV, everything, that just conditioning people. Oh, alien invasion would be cool to see, and the churches don't teach about this stuff. The churches should teach what the real, what these things really are. The church would never tell you in Revelations, I think it was 13, whatever, about 3 unclean spirits look like frogs that are going to present themselves to the world. It's going to be presented by the false prophet. He's going to reveal 3 unclean spirits that look like frogs to the world. That's going to cause the whole world to unite. That's the Pope revealing to the whole world, hey, we're not alone in the universe. And the Pope's already gone on record, both Popes, to say, hey, we're looking for alien life form. We're going to show them when we do. We're going to let the whole world know. And the United Nations, the same thing. So if these, globalist organizations and such doing this, it's going to make you question it,
Sure. What do you think the reality of alien life forms are? Have you come across anything that in your mind says that's pretty definitive, like this stuff is real?
Well, I'm not only taking biblical aspects from this, but when you take all ancient culture, doctrines and such, all the hieroglyphics, all that good stuff, all that to account, all of them have relevantly the same exact concepts. Cultures that didn't even know the other one existed halfway across the planet. The American Indians, I'm American Indian, and I belong to the Wampanoag tribe. It was the Thanksgiving tribe, the ones that greeted the Pilgrims with the Pocahontas thing and everything.
Okay.
Well, ancient North American history, the reason why they held their hand up to go how, that was just a Hollywood thing. It wasn't saying hi. They had a fear for the 6-fingered people. They called them the star people.
Huh.
And the Bible called them the Nephilim.
Right.
Greek mythology, and which is really not mythology, because even the Bible says they were men of renown. And they had certain abilities and such that the Greeks thought they were gods because of their unique individual abilities. And all ancient cultures, the Egyptians, the same thing. When you see Nimrod, Osiris in Egyptianology, he's a giant green man. He was a Nephilim, and that even the Bible says he was a giant and a man of renown back then. And all Bible, ancient cultures, and all that all confirm this stuff. You see in the movie 300, you see one of the soldiers there. He was like a half fish and stuff, and different interworfed creatures like.
Right, the chimeras.
Yeah, the Greeks have records of that. The Egyptians do. All the Aztecs, Mayans, all have that stuff. And it was. In the Bible, it talks about these aliens, the fallen angels, coming down to mate with the woman on the earth, and their offspring was called the Nephilim.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And you go from biblical terms to historic terms. I mean, you can see it all correlate together. I mean, it matches identical. Then you see all the stuff that's happening, and the eyewitness accounts of people all over the world. I mean, yeah, some are crackpots and probably take drugs, whatever, but. The things that's happening all over the world. I mean, cows getting sucked from inside out, people getting abducted, all have the same cases, radiation on them. I mean, the evidence is overwhelming.
Well, tying those two things together then, the theoretical presence of alien life forms in and around our planet, and then a breakaway civilization where they actually have space colonies or perhaps even on the moon is one of the things I've heard. Do you think they're interacting? Do you think that not only are humans out there, they're interacting with other species?
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, I can't prove it, but I know for a fact that...
Right. I know. That's where I'm kind of like, well, we can't really prove this stuff, but...
They work with high levels of our government. I mean, there's been people that testified. I mean, to a normal person, they'll look like a wacko, testified that, they were truck drivers for the government, whatever, underground bases and everything else, the birthing centers they got. And, I mean, it's just like, the stuff is out there. It's hidden, but it's hidden in plain sight, actually. And Yeah, it's just, I mean, it's really crazy. I mean, that's why I tell people, I don't blame you if you don't believe me. I'm not going to take offense by it.
Right.
I'm not at all going to blame you if you call me a wacko. But I mean, this stuff is very real, and I've come across things in my life, and it's not pretty.
No, I have as well. That's why I asked.
Yeah. So I mean, like, if anybody just automatically says, "Oh, they're not real," it's just that they're ignorant. They just don't want to, come out and say it because they're scared. They're either ignorant or scared of both, either one. I mean, like, until there's, they say, well, you have no proof that they're here. Well, you now have no proof that they're not, because actually we do have proof, because all ancient cultures, not just the Bible, but all ancient cultures have solid proof that they were here with men.
Oh, yeah, there's tribes and things like that all over the world that had astronomical data that it was not possible, things like that. So that tells me right there that something was going on. I just don't know what exactly.
The Egyptians said Nimrod, Osiris said, he charted the dark side of the moon. Now, no, the dark side of the moon's never been exposed to the people, the visualized to the people on Earth, man.
Right.
So how would he have a map of the dark side of the moon? It's like, then set up these pyramids and structures, the Pyramid Giza and all this, perfectly in alignment with the stars.
With Orion's belt, right?
Yep. And some of the carvings they have are perfectly straighter than any rule today could ever make.
Right, so all these things, you add them together, it's like, well, there's something up here. Even though we can't put our finger exactly on it, there's something up.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just, it's a lot of things are hoax nowadays, too, but especially in the 60s with Project Blue Book by the Air Force.
Oh, yeah.
People doing anything, videotaping a plate wrapped in tin foil and throwing it in the air and saying,
right, yeah. Now, the big question here is, okay, hypothetically speaking, that they're here, what is their agenda? Or is there, are there multiples, and what is the agenda there? Like, are there different races? Are they having, they each have their own ideas?
Oh, man, the races are uncountable. And a lot of people got to understand, too, when before humanity was created, when God created all these angels, and remember he said 1/3 of the angels fell with Satan to the earth. 1/3. I mean, just that 1/3 number could be astronomical. It could be hundreds of thousands of species, millions or billions. Nobody even knows. But the thing is, you have the Greys, the Reptilians, the Nordics. There's so many different, so-called races, whatever, and they breed them, use genetic mutation, all that stuff, and that's why they got the grin and singular technology today. They said, in Europe they have this place that you send your dog or your favorite animal's DNA to them, and when the animal dies, you call them up, hey, my animal died, so they got the DNA and they create an exact clone, even down to the gray spot that was near his tail. Exactly what your dog was.
So, knowing that there are these families, people like the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers and all of them, do you think that they have personal dealings with one or more alien races, like on an actual personal basis? Like there's interaction, there's communication, there's deals, if you want to call it that.
Oh, yeah, definitely, because this all goes back to a spiritual agenda. Now, every movie you see that has to do with demons and aliens, like that movie they shot in Alaska, I forgot the name of it, the Dirt Close Kind or whatever it was called, I forgot the name of it, but if you've seen the movie, there's aliens and demons and all that, they're all in correspondence with each other. And it's the thing is, a lot of these things are fallen angels and they're unclean spirits and they're genetic offsprings of these creatures as well. And it's all a mix of a bunch of them. The whole main agenda is, they deal with these elite. And the thing is, in the Illuminati, okay, the top level of the whole rule of the Illuminati is Lucifer himself. But he has a band of chief angels, he calls them. They're called the Serpents of Wisdom. I mean, the Serpents of Dragon or the Serpents of Wisdom. And they're the chief angels that deal between Lucifer and the High Priest of the Illuminati. And the High Priest correlates down to the ruling family and such, and it goes down the chain of command, so to speak. So it's right to the basis of it. It's a spiritual thing that they all talk with each other, and communicate and relay orders down to each other, and they all worship Lucifer as God. And Lucifer promises all his angels a place in his kingdom. That's why they all have a certain duty to do something, And these high priests in the Illuminati, they're the connection to the mediations between man and the spiritual realm.
How do you think the correlation between the spiritual aspect and a physical alien aspect is? Like, what do you think the interaction there is? Like Lucifer being the way they see him as the the light bearer, the illuminated one, all that kind of thing. How do you think that relates to these various alien races that you're always hearing bantered about?
Well, yeah, they got to, again, let's just say they're all on the same team, all these races, and they're all in charge of certain aspects. And people say the Greys are the more intelligent ones, and the Nordics too, and the Reptilians are more like the army-type people, and but they all have their role they play within, the system there.
Right. So, do you think they're actually from another planet? Some of them, or
not a planet necessarily. They can go to other planets, yes, but it's more interdimensionally.
That's what I hear too, interdimensional. But it's so some of it's hazy. You don't really know like what's what, because obviously these are the kinds of things we can't have documents for, like we have so much other stuff. But you try and put it together as you can.
Now, unclean spirit, because you got familiar spirits, unclean spirits, and unbodied spirits. Unbodied spirits is a spirit that needs a living entity to possess to be in this realm.
Which would be an interdimensional being because they're not physically here.
Yeah, and they have to actually come into this universe of existence through a human being or an animal or something. They're disembodied spirits. But the ones who are, I mean, it's just like it's so complex with the interdimensional stuff, and and they're going to be called, and there's certain rituals that have to be done. Top members of the Illuminati, I mean, like my friend Bill Schnoblin, Doc Marquise, Cisco Wheeler, they're good friends with all these people now over the years, and they told me about the rituals they have to be, these high priests would raise fallen angels. And they would have communications, even sex with the fallen angels and the aliens. It's all to do ritual and sex magic and everything else. And they would actually drink the blood of a fallen angel, and it gets so wacky. I mean, like Steven Spielberg couldn't even make anything up like this.
Speaking of him, he seems to have an incredible fascination with alien life forms, and supposedly has a lot of. He's collected a lot of objects from all over the world over the years.
And everybody needs to remember all this science fiction is based off of some truth, if not all truth. You know what I mean?
Right. Truth is stranger than fiction.
Yeah, and so I mean, these things they're amongst us. You know what I mean? Like they're working with our government. That's where we get the technology from. And I mean, like the touch screens and everything else. And if you see the technological explosion, I mean, one day we have brick phones, and 10 years from now we have touch screens, and just that, and microchips from. The microchip in your phone. This is where people need to stop and really say, "Wow!" When you that little SIM card in your phone, it's like size of smaller than your thumbnail. And you know what? People have an average 8 gig, 16 gig card.
Right.
Just say a 4 gig card, right? You know how much space back in the 1980s. They would need the size of a warehouse to produce that, not even half that much.
Oh, yeah, it's insane. Just the insane jumps that they've done in the technological breakthroughs. It's. I mean, I think about that all the time. Growing up watching Star Trek: To the Next Generation as a kid, and we're walking around with iPads today. 20 years later, it's like whoa.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like 25 years ago, you would never imagine. I got a device in my hand, the cell phone, that could call people, record people, video, audio. Take pictures, go on the internet, all this stuff, and touchscreen at that, and all these apps. That was, if you said that 20 years ago, even 15 years ago, probably, you'd be like, yeah, right, whatever.
No, I couldn't even fathom it. And what's funny is even the science fiction didn't even get that close. Like,
no,
you notice they have independent devices for all those things. Like, even Star Trek didn't do that. Like, the cell phone can do more than, like the communicators and all that, because an iPhone, for instance, is a mini computer you can attach to the web, and you can look up anything you want.
Absolutely. So, I mean, we're seeing, and it goes back to biblical, too. It says about knowledge will increase double-fold, and you're looking exactly how you come with the Nintendo, right? It was 2-bit, the Atari was a 2-bit system. Then it was, I think the first Nintendo,
The original Nintendo, I believe, was 8-bit.
8-bit, that's right. Then the next one was 16, then 32, 64. It just kept 32. 64, and just every time it comes out, it doubles. Vehicles or computers. The next grade up is doubled from the last, and it's a technology booming, doubling itself. You go buy a computer now, and a month from now, it's going to be obsolete from the market. It's.
Now, here's a question for you. Do you know anything about the significance of the planet Saturn?
The cult of Saturn, and it's correlated with the Catholic Church there. The origins of the Catholic Church, before they hijacked the Christian movement. And basically was the Church of Babylon. That's exactly what it was. And was Constantine. They say Peter was the first pope, which is a huge lie. Peter or Paul had nothing at all to do with the Catholic Church. They were totally against the Church of Rome at that. The Church of Rome at the time was it was a pagan church that went off the old Eastern mystical gods like Babylon and everything else. It was a Babylonian church. And when Constantine came along, he claimed they seen Christian crosses in the sky to help him win a battle, which was false. He seen Baal crosses, the cross of Baal, which is a plus sign cross. Same cross you see all over the Catholic Church, the same cross you see on the Pope's ring. It's a plus sign cross. They call it a Roman cross, which is the cross of Baal. Baal worship, Baal.
Right.
And what they do is they actually, when you look in the windows, you see Jesus with long hair, and you see Mary with something on her head, signifying short hair. And so it represents the hermaphrodite God. You're actually looking at Nimrod and Semiramis, which is known as Isis and Osiris and Isis. And they confuse the people. That's why they mix all the holidays together, even back here in America before the 1800s, we never celebrated Christmas. We never celebrated Easter. We knew they were pagan holidays and satanic holidays. They had nothing to do with Christ. The Catholic Church confused all that together, fused it all together, and caused a great confusion upon everybody. When in the late 1800s, the United States started adopting Roman International Vatican Law. And Founding Fathers, we went to churches on Saturdays because we knew the Sabbath day is Saturday, not Sunday. Jesus was born in the spring sometime. I think it was John Adams who actually, one of his speeches, he said about the 4th of July, how coincidental is the birth of our nation. It's also the birth of our Savior. So a lot of the old timers actually thought, that Jesus was born on the 4th of July. But it was December 25th is the birthday of Nimrod. Nimrod, which is Osiris, the ruler of Babylon at the time. And the reason why they eat pork for, because he was killed by, his son was killed by a wild boar. His son Temut, he wanted to be a mighty hunter like his father, and he was killed by a wild boar. That's why they eat ham and everything on Easter and Christmas, and because both holidays are to do with Babylon. Nothing at all to do with Christ at all. And they merged the two holidays to get people foolishly thinking they're worshiping Christ when they're actually worshiping the Antichrist. The seed of the Antichrist at that.
So this goes back to the whole notion out of Revelations that the Luciferian religion is going to take over the planet.
Yep, and you're seeing it now, and everybody's calling for the one world religion. The Pope, Pope Francis here, he's been in power, I call it office, office for about a year, and he's done more than any Pope's ever done. And I'm not glorifying this guy, but to the world he's doing good things. He's got the admiration of the atheists, the gay activist community of all people, the atheists of all people, the Muslims, the Buddhists, all Eastern religions, the mainstream Christians, all think this guy is the best thing since sliced bread, and he's calling for a one-world religion that Pope John Paul II tried to start. But his number one goal is to unite the one-world religion, and the United Nations went right behind him. All the mainstream media, mainstream churches, the 700 Club, Pat Robertson, Billy Graham, they're all jumping on his bandwagon to push a one-world religion to say, hey, we all serve the same God. Everybody's going to heaven no matter what. And it's one global religion. When it's unified, everybody's not going to be able to say, hey, to get to heaven, you got to go through Muhammad. To get to heaven, you got to go through Jesus. No. You have to conform to this one world religion. And if you don't, you'll be charged for hate crimes. I mean, you're starting to see that now. The FBI, Project Megiddo, targeting people who believe in biblical prophecy or preach against the New World Order as terrorists. I mean, this is all coming to par. And this Pope is very, very sly, I should say, very evil. And he's the first Pope ever to be that was a Jesuit. Because the Jesuits, they were in the 1500s. It was Ignatius Loyola. He created the order. They called it the Society of Jesus, the Order of the Jesuits. It split the Roman Catholic Church. The revised, when the Bible says the revised Roman Empire, split into two. Then they'll reemerge again. The revised Roman Empire was the Roman Catholic Church because they ruled the world instead of by force. They ruled it by which they did kill during the Inquisition for 600 years. They killed millions of Christians, Jews. Anybody that wouldn't conform and turn into a Catholic, they would kill you. And if you possessed the Bible, they would kill you for that too.
Isn't the Pope also considered Caesar?
Yep. And it's Pope Francis here. He merged the two churches back together because again, the Roman Empire split. The revised Roman Empire is split to the Roman Catholics and the Roman Jesuits, the Jesuit Catholics. And him being a Jesuit Catholic, he was a cardinal, Jesuit cardinal. And Jesuits have their own pope that nobody even is aware of, the Black Pope, the Jesuit general. But when he became White Pope, he merged the two churches together again. And merging the revised Roman Empire back together again, the New Babylon. And they're spearheading the one world religion that's bringing so-called peace throughout the planet. The Pope's been traveling around they went to Gaza, they went to Israel, all over the Middle East. And they had a Muslim leader with him and a Christian leader with him to say, hey, we all could get together and get along. And they're winning a lot of people over by doing this to conform into a one-world religion. Even the Muslims pay tribute to the Pope. A lot of people are not aware of that. That's why you never see no tax in Rome and nothing. And people, forget history. That was the Catholic Church that put Hitler in power as well. And, you've seen this New World Order because at the time... There was FDR and Henry Wallace calling for the New Deal, and the Pope Mussolini and Hitler were calling for the New Order. Both meant the New World Order. They try to push the New World Order by force, but they realize, no, it has to be done incrementally, and people got to willingly accept it by depleting their economy, taken away from them, and people willingly accept it. And they'll actually beg for a New World Order. There's one of the quotes from the Rockefellers
right.
there.
Yeah, I've seen that quote.
So you see that happen right now, and all this tying together, how it's all going to play out. And it's just so much more. I mean, that's just the tip of the iceberg. And, it's just like I could be here for hours just explaining little details and factoids. And it's just like it's overwhelming. But, the thing is, everybody's going to say, hey, you know what? God's in control of this. And, people have the ability and power, as all through history. There's always been that one rebel, that stand up to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to change history. Look at Tinsdale, when the Catholic Church was killing people for having a Bible. It was people like Tinsdale and John Wycliffe that had the guts to put the Bible in English, King James, to say, hey, you know what? The whole world should read this, not just the Catholic Church. Because they used it for control and they knew that. And that's why the Protestants came along. Because you got to, once in a while, some trolls, oh, well, Christians ain't good because they killed people during the Inquisition. No, Catholics are not Christians. Because the Catholic Church is not a Christian at all because they conform to the Catechism. I was born a Catholic, so I have a lot of room to talk. I made my first communion and all that, and I definitely denounce all that because it is nothing at all. I mean, they don't speak for the Bible. Everything in the Catechism is direct contrary to what Jesus teaches in the Bible. And
where did it come from? Like, what are the writings that they use? What's their source?
The popes really think they are God. They say that Pope means another Christ. That's the Pope's official title is called Vicar of Christ, which means another Christ. They literally believe that they are another Christ on the planet. And when the priests, when they're doing communion, they when they hold the bread, they call it a host. They literally think that Jesus Christ is literally in that host, and if they drop it, that's a big, 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 big thing. Again, sin in the Catholic Church.
Right.
That's why you can't touch it. That's why the Catholic priest has to put it in your mouth for you.
Ah.
They think in that Eucharist that they carry that Jesus Christ is in there. What they're doing is they're constantly, every Sunday, they're constantly re-sacrificing Jesus. That's why they got him on a cross. He's not, you know, what I mean, biblical, he's risen, and that's it. But they're constantly putting him on a cross. And at the time, that priest really thinks that he's embodied with Christ. And there's a lot of higher levels in the Catholic Church that huge into Luciferianism. They teach basically to become a high satanic priest, you got to be a Catholic priest first.
That's interesting.
Yep, and you got to be a member of a secret society, like such as the Masons or something, and the Witchcraft Covenant and everything else. And while you're learning your priesthood, in exchange for that, you're teaching these bishops black magic. And this goes along with the exorcisms. Now, anybody says, oh, you need a deliverance minister or a Catholic priest to exorcise demons. No, it's not true. Jesus says anyone that believes in him could do this. You don't have to be any of the sort, of a Catholic priest or a deliverance minister. Now, with the Catholic priest, they have to seek permission by the bishops, the archbishop of the area. They can't just go conduct an exorcism. They have to seek permission. But the archbishop, most of the time, like in most cases, the Catholic priests are low-level people. They really think they're serving God. They have no idea what's really going on behind the scenes. But if the archbishop gives them permission, what they do is they install a host demon upon him. The priest doesn't even know it, and some do and some don't. And so when they go confront these demons, they sit there for hours on end trying to confront these demons. They put on a big dog and pony show.
Right. The
demons are going at it. You're basically putting on a show, and eventually the demon so-called goes away, but they come back eventually. But realistically, all it takes is the mere mutter of the word with faith, Jesus Christ, and the demon's gone. Seconds. That's how quick it takes to exorcise the demon. But they put on a big hocus-pocus show, and it's all demonic related. And Catholic churches, back in the 80s, they were moving a lot of covens here in the United States here, and land developers were digging up the old tunnels and everything else, the old catacombs, and finding hundreds of baby remains in these catacombs and everything.
Right.
I've
heard that.
What they would do is, so anybody who's been in a Catholic church who's taken the bread and drank the wine, you've actually ingested the blood of a human baby being. What they do is they would, upon birth, they have an altar dedicated to Lucifer. And the nuns would give birth, and upon birth, not even detaching the umbilical cord, they would slice the child's neck and drain that blood into a chalice, and they would all drink from it. And the priest there would ordain, or the bishop, the batch that was going to be made for the bread and the wine. He would put his hand in with this wand thing and sprinkle the sacrificed baby's blood into the batch of the wine, batch of the crackers, whatever, and the people would ingest that. And that's why when the priest, when he gives you the cracker, he does the sign of the Baal cross, not a Christian cross. He does a sign of a plus sign cross on your forehead. You're receiving, and this goes back to Babylon, with the Moloch and Baal worship. The parents would put their kids, sacrifice their newborn children onto Moloch or onto Baal. And this goes right back to then, that what you're doing, and all the people in the land there would ingest some of the child. And so what you're doing is like these people unwillingly knowing that they're unknowing that they're ingesting a human being's blood.
And this has been carried forward all these thousands of years.
Yep.
That is really interesting. That's the kind of stuff I really like to explore.
And the Catholic churches, you go through the windows. You see all the symbolism all over the place. It's embedded. Just like everything. All the religious art. If you go to museums and one in Springfield, Mass, I went to, they have a religious art section. It's all from Catholic, all from Roman people and everything else. Da Vinci, Leonardo, and all these people that they've made these all these famous artists. You see all this religious art, but if you really look at this art, you see the nativity scene and everything. If you really look at it, it is satanic to the core. People, it's such a good picture. No, if you really look at it, you see Jesus doing the Hail to Satan, the Baphomet sign, and the demigod symbol with his hands that's with the two fingers pointed up and the thumb out.
Mm-hmm.
That's half man, half God. and it's a satanic symbol along with the I love Satan symbol. And people say, oh no, the woman I forgot a name that invented sign language. The one who invented sign language, when she did that for I love you, she was a Satanist. She admitted she was admitted Satanist that she made that to say, hey, I love Satan. She injected that into the sign language.
So just one more way they got it out there.
Yep, but the religious thought that dates back hundreds of years. You can see gargoyles in these things. You can see demons. And when you really look at them, you're like, what the hell? What is that doing there? Because people just glance at, oh, wow, it's so good. But when you really look at it, you see hand gestures from Jesus or Mary or one of the so-called saints or whatever. And then you see black demons facing down and devils and everything else. And right in the art. And you're like, holy crap.
How high in the Catholic Church would one have to go before they would be exposed to this, to the truth of it?
It depends. I think it's more of a bishop level, and maybe some priests might be aware of it. But a lot of priests do become a Catholic priest because they grow up in the Catholic Church and they really think that they're serving God.
Right.
They really believe it and think it, and they're honestly good people, but they really believe that they're serving God, but not knowing that they're actually in the synagogue of Satan itself. You know what I mean? And it's just crazy.
So you think?
I think it's probably the bishop levels and.
Okay, so they have to go up a couple ranks before they.
Yeah.
Now, do you think that would be they'd be exposed to it right away, or do you think it would be almost like a Masonic thing where you're gaining levels, you're gaining degrees, and learning a little more each time?
I don't think right away. They would have to fill you out, and depends. Especially that's where the pedophilia comes into play. And child pedophilia is the number one thing in Kabbalah and the number one thing in Satanism, because they believe when you penetrate a child, sodomy, it opens the worlds of Philemon. It's that's in the Kabbalah, which is the highest level of Satanism. And it opens that's where Aleister Crowley openly bragged about having sex with over 150 male kids and killing them in 1 year alone. That's how he's killed thousands of kids over his lifetime. That's why he was called the Beast. And it even brings us immortality of doing this, because you're taking the kid's innocence away and giving it to Lucifer himself.
It's interesting you bring that up, because a few weeks ago I did an interview with a woman I met who's in Minnesota, actually, whose two children, her ex that she had the two children with, they're involved in this huge sex trafficking ring involving her children and others as well. And when she started trying to fight this, she found out it wasn't just her ex that was doing these things to the kids. It was the judge and the cops. And the more she dug, the more she found out just how evil this thing really is and how far it goes.
Oh, yeah. The rabbit hole goes farther than anyone could even imagine. There's still phantoms that I'm not even aware of either. And, it's just when you think you're like, all right, I think I see the bottom. Yeah, right. It's like not even close.
Well, it's a scary thing. I've run into a couple people now just reaching out on the internet, just trying to network and connect with people. And I found her story, and then another girl, and I think you know her, Cecilia Satori. She told me, she's on Freedomizer. She told her story last week where she almost got involved in a snuff film. And it's like, it's right there in our society. It's just like you poke a little bit and you find it,
Yeah, exactly.
And it's just like two horrifying stories right in a row, these terrible things that are going on. And, our life isn't what most people think it is. It's like one step in the wrong direction, and all of a sudden you're in that darkness.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I always tell people, it's like I don't like to force my beliefs upon people, but you know what? Is when you basically become a truther. When you start looking into the abyss, if you're not well grounded, if you don't have that spiritual anchor, that abyss will pull you in. It did it to the best of people, and it just racks your mind. I've seen people going crazy, that got into the truth movement, started learning about more stuff than they wanted to, and actually crack up from it and see stuff that they didn't want to see. And you have to be well grounded mentally, physically, more mentally, and spiritually. You have to be grounded mentally and spiritually before you even dare to pierce into that black hole, because if you're not, you'll become part of that.
Well, you'll find out just how bad things really are.
Oh, yeah, and it's a scary sight, even for the best of us. And it's a real scary sight. And, at all times you got to maintain that mentality and spiritual ground, that, hey, God's got you and all that stuff, and because if you don't, man, it's nasty. And then you got movies out like Zeitgeist. I mean, Zeitgeist, they expose 9/11, the New World Order, and all that. But what they don't realize is they're trying to say, oh, Jesus, they try to downplay, debunk Jesus. But the thing is, they're taking the Catholic version of Jesus. Oh, look at all the similarities of him and Osiris, him and Josephus, which is all false. Not only on Jesus' half, but Osiris. Osiris never claimed to walk on water, never claimed, anybody knows Egyptiology knows the stuff, never claimed half the stuff that they say he did. And they like to construe this together to cause confusion with people, to say Jesus was just another spiritual master of the age of Pisces. In the astrological chart, like that didn't come about until later on after Jesus. It was constructed around that era to make it all fit together, and that's why I say, oh, he was born on December 5th, so wasn't he? No, Nimrod, yes, he was born on December 5th, but Jesus wasn't. The Catholic version of Jesus was. That's why it all fits together on those movies, right, guys?
Right, I think they discussed the whole December 22nd, 3rd and 4th, and it just all ties into the winter solstice and all that.
Yep, and what they fail to tell the people that, no, Jesus didn't have long hair, he had short hair, because it was Jewish laws for male to cut their hair. Jesus wasn't white, he wasn't black, he was what a Hebrew man is today, and this goes for the churches out there who have statues of Jesus white or black. First of all, the second commandment says you're not supposed to have a statue at all, period, even if it's heaven or holy. But they do this, and but they want the Catholic Church and these cultists to paint Jesus as a little degraded person with long hair, like a hippie and all that, which was no such thing, and was far from the truth. And the Zeitgeist, the New World Order that they claim to be against is what they're actually serving. Now, if they're deliberately doing that or foolishly convinced because they're going by the Catholic version of Jesus, but the thing is, they even lied about Osiris as well. Osiris never claimed any of those. He never claimed to have 12 disciples walk on water. He never claimed to raise anybody from the dead. And the other thing was a spoof off was the virgin birth, which Semiramis, with Tumut, which was Horus. Horus wasn't a virgin birth because his mother Semiramis, which is Isis in the Egyptiology, she was a temple prostitute before marrying Nimrod, which is Osiris. And when they got married, before she had the kid, well, she claimed to get pregnant by divine. Basically, when Nimrod was killed, he was killed. His body parts were scattered in the Nile. She put most of the body parts back together, but she couldn't find his penis.
Right. Yeah.
So that's where the phallic symbol comes in. What people think is a Washington Monument, but it's not.
It's an obelisk. It's a phallic object. Yeah.
Yep. Exactly. And she created that. She sewed his body back together, made one of those, and had sex with it, and claimed to get pregnant off of that. Which she was already pregnant before Nimrod was killed in reality with Tammuz, which was also known as Horus. But Horus was killed by a wild boar against a pine tree. And wild boar, charged him right against the pine tree. And this is why the pine tree is used on Christmas, and also this is why the ham is eaten on Christmas and Easter.
It's fascinating how all these things intertwine, isn't it?
Yep. And all these holidays are all together. And the thing told Jesus, he didn't rise on the Sunday. People say, oh, Good Friday died and Sunday he resurrected. But that doesn't fit nothing. First of all, that would have never happened because that Friday, the Jews prepared for the Sabbath. They would have never gone through with the execution. Because the Sabbath is Friday night to Saturday night. Saturday is the Sabbath, the seventh day of God, And the Catholics say it's Sunday, no, but Saturday. But they would have never done that, and the Romans wouldn't have either because there was some kind of a Roman holiday going on or whatever it was. And so that he rules that right there. And he said 3 days and 3 nights. That's 72 hours. He specified 3 different times. 3 days, 3 nights. So if you take they say about Friday night, that's when Jesus died. 3 o'clock. Everybody could agree about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, that's when he died. So if you take Friday from 3 o'clock to Saturday 3 o'clock, that's 24 hours, and they said they opened the tomb on Sunday morning. That's not even 2 days. That's not even 48 hours. That's not 3 days and 3 nights. People go, look, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. No, Jesus said 3 days, 3 nights. 72 hours. So he was killed on Wednesday, 3 o'clock, And from 3 o'clock to Thursday is 24 hours, to Friday is 48 and 72, to Saturday on the Sabbath. He rose on the Sabbath. But the thing is, the Jews didn't open the tomb on Saturday. They opened on Sunday because Saturday is the Sabbath. They have to rest.
Right.
So it wouldn't matter if they opened on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. He was already gone since Saturday. So and that's why the confusion. The Catholic Church has really diluted anything biblical in this country, and that's why a lot of people turn to other false religions and cults and everything else, because everything's so misconstrued. Nobody knows what to believe, what to do. Especially when we talked about earlier with the Illuminati, destroying religions from within, with their own pastors and everything else to form their own religions and everything else.
Well, it sounds like they've done a really good job of just making a mess out of everything, so people just don't know what to know or to believe.
Yeah, and if you looked at it like that 10,000-piece puzzle, you're like, there's no picture to help you either. You're like, what the hell? I mean, you don't even know where to stop. You know what I mean? It's like,
and it's almost all the same color.
Yeah.
That's the impression I've gotten, because there's just so much I've looked at. I'm like, well, I'll try and put it together, you know?
Yeah, eventually, years and years and years, you start learning. Because, like, one time or another, I was, like, just researching stuff. I'm like, I don't even know why I'm doing this. I have no reason why I'm doing this, why I'm printing this stuff out. Stuff that I thought was just totally irrelevant from anything. And one day, it just clicked in, and it's just like, hey, that's why it has to do with this. And it all made sense. You know what I mean? It's just like the whole path to, this knowledge here has been amazing.
You become illuminated.
Exactly, and it's like the Matrix. You know what I mean? Like you plugs in your head, and all of a sudden you realize the world ain't what you thought it was.
Do you want to put anything out there, websites, whatever it is you want to show to represent yourself?
Sure, it's all my social media, to make it all simple, because I have a ton of Facebooks, ton of YouTube channels and everything else. Just to make it easy on everybody, just go to truthradioshow.com. Again, truthradioshow.com. Right on it, there's a link that says social media networks. You click on that. It's got all the names and everything. You just click on it and join or whatever. And my Facebook, Twitter, MySpace, I got one of those too, Pinterest and LinkedIn and YouTube channels and all that stuff. And everything's all right there. Everything, my contact information, videos, links to my videos, everything, all on that one site, truthradioshow.com.
Fantastic. Well, this has been a great conversation, and we touched on a lot of different topics. And we could do another one where we could really get into your own personal history and experiences and explain how you started and got to where you're at now.
Absolutely. Anytime, man.
Cool. That's it, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us on Secrets of Saturn. We'll see you again. Good night.